call this meeting to order. Board of Appeals, we're going to listen to variance requests tonight. First of all, for the folks up at the table, did any of you go out to visit any of the properties before us tonight? No.
I visited one of them, but it's because it's affiliated with my workplace, so I'll
Okay.
be recusing myself from that.
All right. And that gets into the question about whether anybody anticipates not voting on any issues, and well, you're anticipating what?
And then the last one on the agenda, I think, Paul?
See, hear any others? Did anyone speak with anyone regarding the requests before us tonight?
No.
All right, we will consider the agenda, and I understand that there may be some requests from the people here that we change some of the items ordered. Yes.
I'm here for 2 and 3, so can you just bump those out because we have council at 6.
Yes, I understand that.
And I'm here for 4 and 6.
All right.
Council.
Are the gentlemen at the table amenable to that change?
Yeah, no problem, right?
All right, then what I suggest we do is take Alderperson Corpus Dax as number 2 and number 3 first, and then we can go on to the other 2, and then they can be on the way. And then we'll get back to the schedule. If we're okay with those changes, a motion would be in order, I guess, to satisfy the record.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the modifications in order.
Do we have a second?
Sorry, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Let's talk about the minutes from the last meeting, which was way back in February.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from February 18th.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the February 18th meeting. All in favor? Aye. All right, let's get into item number 2 right away. Romero Coleman, at 1337 Alpine.
Yes, sir.
Would you come forward and make your case?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Romero Coleman, and I live at 1337 Alpine Drive. I just basically want to put a shed in my backyard because I have way too much stuff in my garage, and I just don't have the room for it. So I have an area in my backyard that's approximately perfect, like right there. That would be a perfect spot for 12 by 18, 12 by 20 shed with a concrete base to it.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Have you considered moving it forward enough to not trigger the variance request?
Sure, whatever the stipulations are, I will gladly accommodate you guys.
Bro, what he's asking. Can I talk or no?
Yeah, this is my neighbor Joe.
Sure. Why don't you come up here, Joe, because you're right next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
What
the
he's
same
asking,
issue.
Ro, is
Somewhat the same issue.
there's that 50-foot variance. So what he'd be asking, just so you know, is for you to put it right here.
no, that wouldn't work for me, especially with my fire pit being located where it is.
Right, but that's where it would be if you chose to put your shed in a place that didn't trigger the variance.
Oh, I see. So what if I wouldn't be able to move it forward at all from where it's indicated right here?
Not within the 50 feet. That's why,
So it would
That's why
have,
you
that's the
had to
only
put it-
area where I would be allowed to put it.
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah, the ordinance, as I understand it, is a 50-foot setback from the, whatever the road takes.
Just like a third of the depth of that lot.
yeah, so right now, what it is there's a fence line here to the highway. Our land ends 2.5 feet from that fence line. So 50 feet from there, this being my house, so I know the reference, is just about to the corner of his fire pit. So,
Well, that's what we're here to consider,
Just
sir, is whether or not you have sufficient justification to
Okay.
overrule the requirements of the ordinance.
What about the other side of the yard?
Well, on the other side of the yard, I don't have a problem with that as well, but I don't want to interfere with my neighbor's property line as well.
Okay.
Because I have a bunch of old wood that I just use for my fire pit right here.
He means
But
center.
I was under understanding when we bought the house, that these trees are state property.
Yeah, no, I'm
City-
talking a little farther up on the other side.
50 feet up on the
Oh,
other
this,
side.
on this side?
Yeah, right.
As long as it doesn't interfere with my neighbor's property, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
What's the offset for? I'm not clear what the offset's for.
Yeah, let's settle this, Paul.
50 feet for the highway.
What's
There's
the
a highway?
provenance?
Yeah,
Right away.
I-43
That's
is
Highway
a,
43.
I-43 is a,
Okay.
in our backyard.
For all interstate highways, there's a setback, 50
From
standard
the property line.
right-of-way line.
Correct.
Right, this was, so the right-of-way line is their back property line?
Correct.
Okay.
But this was initiated in some way that I'm not familiar with, or maybe it was just presented to the board in a way that I'm not familiar with. It's not in chapter 13, is that?
Yes, 13.173.
It was in there at one time, but it's a long-standing ordinance, so it was not included in the update.
Okay. And what was the basis by which this city decided they had to put this ordinance in?
I'm not sure if it was a request from DOT or not. I mean, it kind of predates my time here. It's probably to provide some protection from their property line for any sort of expansion potentially in the future or maintenance, I guess.
Did I just hear you say it's not currently in the zoning code?
Right, it's a
Was
current
it-
ordinance that is not,
Oh, it's separate from,
it should be included in the zoning code, but it's not currently in the code.
but it's
It's
still,
still-
it's
it's
still
still
an
an
adopted
ordinance of
ordinance. It
right,
hasn't,
right.
it didn't get lost in revision
No.
or something like that, okay.
No, it's still an ordinance of record.
Is the amount of feet significant as it relates to highways? Is that what, is that?
I don't know if it's an
What's the
arbitrary
policy?
number, or I mean, that's a typical number that we find on.
Yeah, but what's the reason related to like highways such as I-43 to have a setback such as that? Is there, do you know the policy behind that?
I can't speak for the DOT, it's probably to protect, again, their long-term interest in any sort of expansion and acquisition.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I can't put anybody's reasons down. I suspect you're right, that they want to preserve the notion that they could expand it or some way put another lane in or something in the future.
Right, I'm not sure
Without
the grades
having-
would contribute to that, but.
Yeah, well, whatever they want to do, and then they don't want to have to contend with people that have wonderful structures put up in that.
Right.
But there wasn't any qualifications to the type of structure or, I mean, if the applicant wanted to put in a concrete slab pad, nothing else, because he wanted to put basketball hoop or
It depends,
horseshoes or whatever back there.
I guess it depends what would require a permit. This requires a permit, so we can issue a permit for that.
It has been petitioned before on that same street and granted, 6 houses down.
I saw that.
Yeah, so
I couldn't
that,
remember that, but
yeah, so that,
my memory goes between meetings.
so yeah, that's how, you know, you won't be able to see that unless that can be moved.
Yeah,
This one right here.
And also,
So it's,
it's down a ways.
it's 4 houses down from the last one you can see.
Right here. This one?
Yes, sir.
That what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
It's a rather substantial building, too.
Yeah, both of which were made and designed to fit the architect of the house per the other guidelines of that size.
And also, the land from the fence line down to the interstate, that's a sloped property. That's a sloped area. So how would you accommodate, how could you calculate what's 50 feet inside the fence from a sloped area?
Well, it's
We
off
do
my
it,
lot.
we do it from the plan view, from the air, you know, so it's just the line to the line, not,
It's our lot.
not.
It's the lot line. We'd assume that the meaning is the lot line.
Yeah.
Okay,
We just look at the world as being flat in that case.
okay. Just like he lied to Columbus too, right? Okay.
Okay,
That's quite a distance from the roadway to the property already. You know, it's not like it's not like the travel lanes for the highway are sitting right on top of these properties.
You know, not to speak for him, but a big thing that we run into too, the way that these lots were designed with the grade pitch from here to our house, creates a canal through the back. You can see the water line of where it beats down the yard
Oh,
through it, you know what I mean? So what it is, it's graded back from the highway as not to flush too much water at the highway, but it's graded back from your house as not to flood your basement. So what that does is it creates this water canal that we put up with, give or take 10 days a year. So, not speaking for it,
No,
but by
no, no,
placing
go
it
ahead.
in the
They're setting it up to
location,
flood.
you are setting it up to have that in a way.
I see you're saying it's been graded to create sort of a swale in the middle there.
Correct.
Yes, exactly. Water
Which-
flows down and meets right here,
That is
and it
only-
just goes.
You know, on hard
South.
floods or snow melt, you know what I mean? But it is something that I'm already going to have to take care of if I get my, you know what I mean? So just food for thought.
Okay. Any more questions for the first applicant before we get to the second one? Sir, you can have a seat if you like here, or you can have a seat
No,
back
I
where
just
you
sit
were.
back here.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sure,
Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. In your case, sir.
Yeah. So, my house.
Is this the same agenda item, or is it there?
No, this is a.
Check
it
Back to back?
So 2 and 3 together?
Yeah,
Got it, okay.
they're right. They
Yeah,
live
we're
together.
right next door to each other.
Got it.
So I'm the third house from the top, being this house right here. So I also have that 50-foot variance. I had fooled around with the idea of building a shed like roll. Worked with Chad with that 50-foot variance and the size that I was looking for. I thought it'd be easier and smarter economically, I guess, for turnaround to sell if I ever were going to just add a third stall addition to it. The rules with that, obviously 6 feet off your neighbor's lot line, and I would still have to fall within that 50-foot variance. So what I was looking to do is I contacted a contractor. We were looking to put on a 12-foot addition, which is standard for third stall garage. I mean, it's a matter of inches. So right now, to Rose lot line, I roughly have 17.5 inches. I would need 18 inches to be 12 feet to my, or 12 feet plus the 6 to my neighbor's lot line. I mean, it's a matter of inches. I mean, you know, maybe it's 17.3, maybe it's 17.7, but, you know, that's why, what I was asking for is something like a foot, you know, with Rose permission to be, you know, so I would be, the building is still gonna be, you know, for all intents and purposes, 5.5 feet off the neighbor's lot line. I just need that permission to be a little closer.
Okay, so the variance, the ordinance is 6 feet, Paul?
Single story.
Now, one of the aerial photographs, it looked like there was something parked on the side of your garage already. Maybe not in that one, but one of the several aerial photographs of this area I've looked at. Do you normally park anything on the side of, that side of your?
Not anymore. What you were seeing, so in that driveway right now is a 30-foot camper. And, I mean, I guess for when the area, I don't own the camper anymore, but when the aerial photo came over, was probably in between camping weekends.
No,
I would put it on, I mean, nothing stationary by far. I guess the biggest thing I run into is I have a company vehicle, and then we have 2 other cars, a child, you know, snowblower and all that stuff. The garage is just at its limits, and to be honest with you, you know, a shed for me and the woodworking tools and everything that I have just wouldn't be able to accommodate, I guess, what I was hoping to do by getting all vehicles out of the rain and wind and hail and whatnot. And then also add house value for years to come, I guess.
Okay, so let me characterize this. The gentleman at the top of, or at the middle of those 3, is had a request to put a shed in, which he needs a variance for the 50 feet. You have accommodated the 50 feet, but you need 1 foot of variance essentially, approximately, maybe less, on the side, because you want to give 5 feet instead of, you will only come within 5 feet, but you need to be 6 feet. Is that roughly where we are here? So one is a side yard variance and one is kind of this new rear yard variance, because if there weren't a road there, the city wouldn't have an objection to what was proposed. Other than,
We just follow the ordinance.
If there wasn't a highway there,
there wasn't a highway.
There would not be a 50-foot setback, I can say that.
Yeah, will we have like a 25 in the back?
25 is standard for rear yard.
So he'd be proposed, even if he didn't have a highway in the back here, we'd still probably be talking about this,
Potentially, sure.
at least according to.
Well, no, I mean, if it's a detached, you can go within 4 feet of the rear and side lot lines.
Okay, that's right.
Principal building could go back no closer than 25. In this case, any structure cannot go within that 50 feet.
Okay.
mine being attached has the 6 foot, not the 4 foot.
So you have a 2-car garage already?
That's the
And
answer, correct.
So you're wanting to put a third stall in
Correct.
there, is that right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And conveniently, the gentleman who would be perhaps most affected by you impinging into the setback is here tonight for another reason.
I mean, I see the conclusion you might be drawing, but in all honesty,
Oh, no,
this all started.
No, I'm not,
Yeah, no, this is,
convenient
it's
for us.
not a scheme to have
No,
him
no,
here.
I'm saying it's convenient for us.
Oh, yeah, I would have brought him either way.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Any other questions for the, either of the applicants?
Just one specific one. You said you don't need a foot. You need something physically less.
So I located my lot line post here, lot line post here, and, you know, in the wind, I drew a string 150 feet. You know, so that string line 150 feet, then I took minus 12 feet from my soffit, or minus 12 inches from my soffit, plus the 12-foot addition would meet my soffit line based on construction type. I need 6 feet from my neighbor's lot line, and rough, you know, holding a tape to that blowing line was 17.5, 17.7. I also use the tools on the website, which I can draw a line, you know, on the website that says 18.4 to 17.2. So I mean, I didn't want to stand up here and say it's exactly 6 inches, and then
Right.
I'm 7 inches.
Right.
12 feet or 12 inches would be,
Right.
I would be.
So you know approximately, but you can't tell me exactly.
I can't.
Okay, I
It's
got
just a
you.
little, it's just a
Yeah.
little bit regardless, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, not until, I mean, so my contractor asked me to come here and ask first before we were gonna go through all, you know, because then I'm assuming I would still have a city worker come out to approve the plans as, you know what I mean?
Well,
So-
if you didn't get the variance, would you still build the garage?
I would
1
move.
foot less? What's that?
I would move
You wouldn't build it the 1 foot less?
my one,
Did you measure to the soffit or to the face of the building?
less the soffit. So I measured from the face of my house, less the soffit, because
So what is the distance from the face of your garage to the lot line, I guess is?
Give or
Just for
take.
clarification,
give or take 18 inches,
a total.
or 18 feet.
18 feet.
Sorry.
Okay.
18 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, so less than 8.5, 10-inch soffit. You know, that's where I'm drawing that 17.5.
Right, so, you know, the overhang, I mean, as far as setbacks, we're concerned about the face of the building, right? Soffits can overhang into the setback area. I don't know if that sheds any light or not. So we're not measuring from soffits at all. That's not measure from the face of the
Wall.
Okay, because my contractor thought it was from soffit to lot line.
No, you can have that encroachment in the setback.
Okay.
You can't go over with the lot line, but you can encroach into the setback, so to speak. You want that principal building to be no closer than 6 feet.
You try to avoid putting 4-foot eaves on your house there,
Right.
you know.
Right, well,
Your neighbor might have a little.
We're looking to attach it and just
Yeah,
have it
sure.
go up.
Not just knock down one wall.
No, I mean,
I understand.
I guess I think it would
You
still
may
be
You
close.
may be talking about a very conservative
Literal
need for a
inches.
variance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that I had all my ducks in a row before we start.
Which is good, but I want to make sure we're clear, because now I'm confused, because it's very gray. From the wall considering now that you have from the wall to the property line, are we talking 3 inches? Are we talking a full foot? I mean, or is it, we don't know. It could be anywhere, and we're just asking for a foot because it could be anywhere within that.
To be honest, especially with the new news, I can't give you, I measured a month ago, I can't exactly, I know I taped my house to that line,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure that was 18 feet.
And how much do you need?
8,
Forget the distance, how much are you looking to add on to your building?
12 feet.
12 feet.
So that would be that 6.
Got it.
But,
There could be a 6-inch on the other side, depending on how the wind was blowing at that moment.
yeah, I was trying to, it was 4 to be safe and sorry.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be, I don't think we're good enough to take care of 6 inches, so I appreciate that you came in and tried to do it as safe as possible. So I understand where you're coming from. Any other questions? Okay, if you could have a seat, sir. Thanks. Alderperson, did you care to have any say on any of these?
I haven't had any objections from any residents in or around that area.
Okay, good. Your thoughts, gentlemen? I think we can consider both of these together, but we do not need to. If you wish to consider them individually, item 2 is the shed in the back, and item 3 is the new stall up to the garage.
I feel like we should discuss them. They're very different to me.
They are.
Yeah.
Let's
so-
talk about number 2 then, the first one, which is the highway 50 feet.
For me, it seems like there's a compromise that he's willing to do of moving it to a different part of the yard that might fit within the 50-yard setback. There's not a hardship, that we've talked about and defined that's been, defined to have it in that specific location. So I feel like there's a solution already kind of percolating to move it somewhere else as long as it's within that 50-foot setback. It doesn't have to go in that specific area. So for me, I'm probably a no on the first one. The second one, it's fairly gray for me. So I'm looking for other comments and other people to help me kind of gather my thoughts there. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. It's so small and there's a lot of moving parts.
Okay, well, let's think about Mr. Coleman's situation first. Then you're skeptical of the need for the variance.
Correct, yeah.
I would agree. I think there's another option. There's a place where you can put it. It's not a big shed that he's looking for in the other side of the yard. I just think there's a way to comply. There's not a hardship that he's able to demonstrate. So, I don't know.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but my only question is, what would you consider a hardship?
Well, if you couldn't put that building anywhere else, so the ordinance is such that you wouldn't be able to do it anywhere else.
Okay.
I would consider that, because of the makeup of your property.
Okay, all right, thank you. Like the gentleman said, I am willing to, if it won't work on one side, I'd rather move to another side.
Okay, Noel or Jim, thoughts?
I tend to be in agreement because there is the enunciation that he's willing to work with the site. So I would tend to say that the hardship is not such that there's nowhere else to go.
I've got a whole bunch of thoughts on this that I'm struggling with in different ways, and one is, we've got a 30-year-old ordinance saying we need 50 feet off of the highway where we don't want people building at all, but we don't really know why, and if it's worth keeping. I don't know if that was the state saying, or the Fed saying, impose this and we're gonna, tie your highway money to that, or if that was like something that somebody read at one time in the planning journal and then they imposed it, we impose it on ourselves, and said, yeah, that's good planning practice. In case that right away needs to expand someday, we don't have somebody saying, but I just built this great shed here and now you're gonna tear it down, or whatever, right? So part of me wants to answer that question before I act on this. Like if the highway department said, you know, we don't need 50 feet off of there, look at how big that right of way is, and we got plenty of room to expand the width of those lanes if we ever need it. Go ahead and let somebody build there, you know? Then I'd be like, yeah, let's do this, and while we're at it, let's change the ordinance, right? So that's my first reaction to this. The second, which would say, let's table it and get that answer. And the second reaction is, with the neighbor building what he's proposing to build here, with the extension of that garage, and, you know, I would go, geez, you could just tuck the shed right on the other side of that lot line from that extended garage, and now you've got, you know, two new buildings built kind of right next to each other, and is that maybe less impact overall, and you can still get it to comply with the 50-foot setback? You know, that's another thought that I've gotten. So, but anyway, I'd be happy with getting more answers on that 50-foot setback and understanding how critical it is to the public's health and safety and well-being before I you know, tell a guy he can't build because of it.
I think that's where I am too, because I would like to hear, in all of our ordinances, we do have an explanation of why this ordinance basically is what it is, whether it's public need or whatever, but we haven't really been told on this one. We can speculate. I hate to push it forward, but at the same time, it just seems like it's so out of the ordinary to have a strange reason like this. I can see it happening 40 years ago when the road was there and there were no houses there, and people said, well, you know, fine, let's do that.
What does that process look like, Paul? If we want to refer it to council, is that a council thing? where they
No, I
take
can
the
just
ordinance
contact
up?
the DOT and get their thoughts. I mean, we don't notify the DOT as part of this process
Okay.
necessarily. I mean, it's our ordinance, so to speak, so I guess I can do more research and find out. the
Yeah, if you
reasoning
hear from
behind it.
them that they'll die on the sword over it, then we've got a different idea of what their
Yeah,
thoughts
and
are.
if, for example, they may say something like, well, there may be a small shed or something. We meant that we didn't want any darn garages or houses or that kind of thing.
Some further guidance from them.
We need further guidance
Yeah.
as to, is anything allowed in that setback, or is nothing allowed, or
Yeah,
how emphatic are they?
Right, I mean, from our perspective, it's anything, again, the permit we're going to issue for.
right.
You put your playground and stuff back there, the new gardening, and things like that, but structures are a different story.
Right.
Yes. It's a big chunk of your lot that you're not able to do stuff with, that, given that normally, like you said, this could be within 4 feet of that rear lot line if we didn't have the highway behind it. I think that's a big enough deal to try and get a little bit more
I do too.
information about.
I do too. If it could be resolved with just a simple question to the DOT, you know, hey, explain this, let us know what the provenance and whatever of this type of ordinance is, then we can make a better decision. But we do have 2 no's, and I'd like
I
to,
would agree with the assessment just stated, that I would go for that.
you'd like to hear some more.
I would like to hear some more.
I'll move that we table item 2 until we learn a little bit more about the ordinance and the justification for the 50-foot setback.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to push forward our consideration on the Coleman shed until we get further resolution and explanation of the roadway variance, or the roadway ordinance. Further questions, comments, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll vote nay.
Okay, 4-1. Mr. Coleman, we're gonna think about it.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
We'll think about it for, till the next meeting, probably. I think we can
We'll get an answer.
figure out, get something from them. Okay, now let's talk about the next one, the garage side. Mr. McKeefery would like to put an extra stall in his garage. He may or may not need 1 foot of grace to do it exactly the way he would like. Your thoughts?
Is there a way to get more, I mean, I feel like we're sometimes in this position a lot, so what is that, again, for me, what is that process to get more exact so we know what we're approving?
You could ask the applicant for survey information, I guess, if you wanted to go that far. It depends on your comfort level, but you could request that. The city won't verify that. I mean, that's something a private party, a surveyor would have to verify.
And our understanding was that it's fairly gray. At certain points, it can be complying, and at certain points, it could be 6 inches. Is that what you guys took away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as presented to us, he is proposing that he wants to have, he'll be 5 feet from his neighbor's lot. He needs to be 6. So he's here for variance. And as presented to us, I believe that is the way it was presented to us. He's looking for a foot of variance. He may not need any of it, as he explained, if we have this uncertainty. But we're always gonna have this type of uncertainty, so I would rather we not try to quibble about inches if we are in this situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just trying to understand, for me, it seemed like now the eaves are, you know, whatever the roofs was
Yeah.
now, oh, I was measuring from here. So the question then for me becomes, do we even need a variance? Or are we granting it just in case? So he didn't have to come back. I guess that to me is the question we're asking right now.
That is a very good way to put it, and for my purposes, I would grant the variance for just that reason. It's close, and as I said, the main affected party is here listening to all of this.
The only counterpoint I have to that argument.
Don't.
No, I mean, the only counterpoint after our training and everything we went to is that the decision leaves and stays with the property, not with the property owner, so neighbor might move.
Exactly.
The next neighbor might be upset. So
Exactly.
for me, that is important for now, but long-term effects, we're supposed to make decisions not based on the individual, but the property itself. So,
You stated it very well. Any other thoughts, Jim, Noel, Brett?
I think I'm leaning a no, just because of the, you know, the amount of space he already has with the garage, and to me, it seems like he should still be able to comply with the ordinance and still have the ability to create garage space of some sort. So I
So
just don't
you're-
see I don't see the hardship with the makeup of his lot there.
Your angle would be that it looks like the gentleman could comply.
Correct.
Let's put the onus on him
To comply.
to comply. All right, that's fair enough. Noel, Jim?
Paul, do you know what the width of a standard garage stall is?
Could be 8, could be 10. Could be 10 to vary, I guess. I don't know what he has on his house currently.
You know, we was talking a 12-foot wide garage addition, and I understand anytime you're mobilizing to build something, it's costly, you want to maximize what you're building. But if, you know, the standard garage stall is 8 to 10 feet wide, you know, we're going, you know, 2 to 4 feet wider than that to create then this need for a variance that is maybe a half a foot or something like that. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle for me, finding that urgent need for it. But, you know, a little on the fence, I guess, so wondering which way the wind's blowing, but.
Should I raise a question?
Yes, you may.
So when you say 8 to 10 stall, do you mean 8-foot garage door or full size? Because the average garage door is 8 to 10 on a third stall, which is correct. But you need 16 inches on each side of that for building size. So the average car is 6 feet. You open each door 2 feet, that's 8 feet. So interior size, you need to be greater than
Right,
Here,
but you're
garage
still,
door
but
size.
if you take the 8 and you add the 16 on each side, you're still less than 12 foot. So your 6-inch wiggle, starts to fall out.
36 is 3 feet, by 8 is 11, so it's 11 feet.
Yeah, so, but you're talking 12 foot, so there's the, it's,
Oh, okay.
you know what I'm saying? It's, if we're that close and the standard could get you there, then maybe, we go with the standard. But again, I'm not you and I don't know exactly how you're planning to use that additional stall.
You have a thought?
Sure, I'm Rick Fisher with Fisher & Associates Architects. So when I do designs for garages, normally if I'm providing a third stall, the minimum door size I would recommend is 10 feet, because even if you have a 9-foot door, it's very difficult to fit, oftentimes the third stall is for a trailer rather than a vehicle. So if you have a standard width maximum snowmobile trailer, if you have a 9-foot door, you have to be able to hit the weather stripping on both sides to get it in. So normally if I'm designing a door, I design at 10 feet, even if, you minimize the structure on each side, it gives you a hole big enough to fit, because you can always swing to one side, but I think that the 12.5-foot dimension would probably make the most sense. So it's other, it's not just a car, it's everything.
Right.
Okay. If you'd like to call the question, I don't hear a complete sense that we can resolve this without being forceful.
My comment is, I wish I knew in a little bit more detailed measurement, simply because I think if we're voting a yes, we're actually voting for a maybe, we need it, versus coming in and say, I need 4 inches exactly. I'd almost be willing to go a 6-inch measurement versus a foot. If someone's that close and they're gonna move, I know it goes with but we're granting like a foot for a maybe. And I just don't feel right doing that.
Well, here 3 no's, we're not voting yet, but.
I'm a no. I don't know if you've commented on it. I think you basically said that, but I don't want to speak for you.
Where Jim's at is, like, if I had more concrete information, I feel like I could jump on one side or the other. It's very gray to me right now, and I would love to see, like, okay, are we granting 6 inches, 4 inches, is it a full foot? And then, if we just say, oh yeah, I give him a foot just because he, so he doesn't come back to me, the next person walks up and says, hey, give me 3 feet just because I potentially need 3 feet. I don't necessarily know if that's what I feel is our role, for me. So that's why I'm more leaning to know it. But if we want to say, hey, come back with more exact measurements so there's not another, another payment to another file, and say, hey, let's move this back off 1 more month, if he's willing to get more exact measurements and come back and say, okay, it's exactly 4 inches here, or no, it's a full foot, knowing that the roof line is not the thing, it's the wall, and being able to get that information, that would make me feel much more comfortable knowing what I'm approving from a variance, rather than, well, maybe. I'm thinking long-term future on what my vote represents, and I don't want people coming, well, I might need 8, and they take 3.
Sir, I hear at this point, without taking it to a vote, you'd lose. Are you amenable to putting the information together for coming back for another time to explain to us how your 1 foot maybe is something a whole lot more exact?
I guess my fight to that would be to get the concrete evidence that you guys are looking for. I would have to have my land surveyed.
Yep.
That guy probably knows more than me. What's the rough survey cost? $300?
Could be,
So I survey my land for $300,
could be.
and then I come back with that concrete information. And I'm not trying to have an attitude, I apologize. Come back with that concrete information, and the gentleman, Greg, he in general doesn't approve of the variance in general. Whether I was asking a foot, 5 feet, 6 inches, his vote was no in general. So if I come back with that $300 bill, present the information, and then I hear no again, I'm now out another $300, $375, almost $400, just for a maybe.
I'm only one of 5.
Yeah, but a
So
very
you need to
crucial
convince
vote.
3.
But still a very crucial vote,
Right.
correct, you know?
Yeah,
So,
but sir, in all honesty, you're the one who also said you'd move if you didn't get the variance, so.
well, the issue is
The cost
that,
of moving is pretty exceptional too.
I guess, I mean, what I'm running into is, I have a 50-foot variance off the back that I have to play into. I have a 6-foot variance off the side that I have to play into. I don't want to move. I bought this house at a foreclosure, and this house is gorgeous. I've done all the inside work myself. It's phenomenal. And I'm paying on a $140,000 house. Like, I have the deal of a lifetime here. I don't want to move. But when I talk to a contractor, a very, like, what I consider a reputable contractor, he informed me that the average third stall is 12 feet. So I did the best of my knowledge for free to get a metal detector, find my pins, to pull a string, to get you the information, and to the best of my general knowledge, I was able to find the 17.5. Now, yes, it was on a windier day, so like, that's why, yes, we're here kind of over a gray area, and I fully understand where you guys are coming from. I guess my biggest thing is that I fully agree that road could be gone tomorrow, and then the new guy comes in and he's like, you know, why is it a foot too close? The thing I would squabble with that is, if it was detached, it could be 4 feet from your neighbor's lot line. So I could build a shed not attached to my house, 4 feet from his lot line, would actually be closer than what I'm proposing now. But what I'm proposing is attached to the house, adds value to the house, adds value to the street. It's going to be the same design and everything of the house. I'm not looking to cut corners anyway on that. I'd fully be going, obviously, with pulling permits and all of that. What I was looking for is, yes, a gray area foot. I apologize that I was not able to get better information than that. What I was looking for is, come here, present the information to you guys based on the 12 feet that my contractor drew up. And yes, I can't guarantee that if it ends, you know, right here, you know, will it be 6 inches?
Well, that's where we are, and I guess I needed a sense from you. If you'd like us to vote, we'll vote.
I move we approve of the variance as requested.
As placed before us. Okay? Okay, so we're considering the McKee-Free variance request as it's been presented before us. Do we have a second?
What's that?
Do we have a second? Noel has moved that we grant the variance. I will second it, because I can. So we have a motion before us, moved and seconded, that we approve the variance as Mr. McKee-Free has presented it to us. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Hey.
No. You're done. You did not get your variance.
Sounds good.
I want to make sure you understand that we're not the altar people that made the ordinance. And there's a limited amount of things we can take into consideration and apply to a variance.
Well, hopefully there's still a way to make it work somehow.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Now we're going to jump forward to, is it 4 and 5? 4 and 6?
I'm for it.
We'll go to 4 anyway.
Kathy's gone though,
She's gone.
so.
All right. We'll go back. Item number 1, Mr. Caters.
Very good. My name's Tom Caters with ISG. Dave Van Schindel with Russell Metals, and then John Shamwell also with ISG. Nice to meet you. So to start you off, we have 3 variances that we are requesting approvals for this evening. And the first one is a driveway. Yeah, there you go. First one is driveway width. So from the first page there, I just wanted to show that is our proposed layout. North would be face up in this direction here. So essentially, Walmart would be on the opposite side of Hinkle, on the west side here. What I wanted to show on this one is essentially with our driveway with variance that we're requesting, is that a semi-travel barely makes it at the proposed width. So with the semi-travel for this property, with the expansion that we're looking for with the project, this is going to be a common entrance. It's going to happen many times throughout the day. So there would be a nice requirement to allow that. The second page then goes to some of the problem areas. You can take a half hour and look through aerials throughout the city, and you can see properties where businesses have trouble staying within the city's ordinance for driveway width. This is a business on the East Side Industrial Park. And it was kind of cool as I got to watch it over the last couple of years. They tried for the first couple to try and make that entrance, and repeatedly are having to redo their entrances with grass. It turns into mud. So this is their latest attempt at trying to resolve. You can see from the widths. Their widths on Lowell at the curb are 47.5 feet, and then at the property line are a little better than 60. And then also out on Ontario, it's at 47 feet out of the curb line. So, and then the last page there, this property is the Little Rapids Corporation, just north of our facility. And you can see that fairly wide as it looks here, is it's 40 at the property line, 51 at the curb, but you don't see the spillover. You don't see the mud, you don't see the gravel. Whereas if you look right across the street, the 55, 51, you can see that has a city standard variance width, but they've added gravel. They've added some type of media there, and they probably have to annually, because you're gonna run gravel out on the roads, you're gonna tear up the grass, there's gonna be mud transferred onto the roads, into the parking lots, that sort of thing. At this facility, we're attempting to keep a nice, clean facility. We're trying to get away from having to go with a smaller entrance drive and then tear it up with the tires of the semi-trailers as they come through. So that is our first request.
Okay. Now, again, the ordinance did get modified a bit, so
No changes made to the ordinance.
what is the requirement then that the ordinance imposes?
For commercial industrial that have truck deliveries, it's 25 at the property line, or the right-of-way line, and 35 at the curb line.
We're essentially asking for another 10 for each one.
You want to explain what the reasoning was? I know we've seen the memos from the traffic people.
For not changing the ordinance?
Yeah, for why the ordinance is for the way it is. The one line I do remember is that there's a reason that you can have a driveway width that's too wide.
I suppose you could. We talked about this at the board level some months ago, I think, and we talked to the planning commission. We chose not to change the ordinance at that time. We didn't feel there was a significant amount of variance request regarding that over like a 6 or 7 year period, so we chose not to support a change to the ordinance. So instead, they're kind of dealt with on a case-by-case basis. So commercial industrial drives are kind of grouped together, and in certain cases, industrial drives have to be widened, but they're presented here for consideration based on our issue.
One of the arguments the applicants have made is that this road is a little bit narrower than many roads or the access roads. So. But none of that was considered, and it was considered, but none of that was considered grounds to change it
At this time.
Do you have a lot of semis coming in and out? Is that pretty?
That's All our deliveries are with semis. We have 14 trucks of our own. We
Okay.
ship out 500,000 pounds a day.
Okay. We got a lot of semi-traffic.
There's that much going out, and if there's that much going out, there's that many semis coming in.
Okay.
So are we going to discuss each one of these, all together? We're going to do each one standalone and act on them separately? How do you want to handle it, Mr. Chairman?
We can consider that, there's two, I think you've got two here, right?
There's three.
Okay. We can consider them all, but let's let the applicants.
Present all three of them first?
Yeah, present them
Okay.
all first. I think I understand this one, so why don't we go on to the next one?
The next one is building setback. Current building setback for the property is 15 feet required. We are asking to come inside of that by 5 feet, so we're asking for 10 feet. 10 feet actually is the existing building setback that currently sits there. Per what you were provided in your memo, to keep roof lines, to keep structure, to keep that similar from existing to proposed, it makes good sense to keep the line running rather than make the jog. A lot of with this facility, they have two truck travels that run through the building. So to keep the structure itself, column lines, that sort of thing, to keep those in the same spots. One of them is actually, one of the drive-throughs is fairly close to that end. It's actually between these two lines here.
There's two there on that
So
side.
there's two there, there's one here, I'm sorry, these are the center lines of each one.
So to add to the hardship portion of it, right now I believe you guys have storage that would like to be continued alongside that end. Another piece to consider is when semis pull in, there's a need for a little bit more clearance on that side so they're not hitting the building line or a chance to hit the building line. So a little bit of the expansion there would also be appreciated.
Questions on this explanation?
So you're saying the addition, the 10-foot, the variance on the setback is to actually have to match up with the original building, which is also 10 feet off of the.
Yes. It's 10.2 is the existing.
For whatever reason.
Yes.
Maybe you got a variance, maybe you didn't.
Maybe.
I'd be willing to bet that it predates probably,
Yeah, I
I think
think
the
that's
last
right.
one was in like 74, so. Something gets that.
That's
Okay.
easy enough.
So let's go on to the next one.
Okay.
Variance number 3.
So, being that I'm good with drawings here, like,
You're doing
I can handle all kinds of stuff for you here.
Okay, this I just took a little bit of time to, put it up there. The last one that we have for you is the impervious surface coverage. The requirement for the business park development is 70% maximum. And we are looking to make that 80. A light industrial, or like, I guess like Walmart, if you look at the second page there, the second page shows you the business park is basically the yellowish, I apologize for the terrible print, but the red is Walmart and Festival, those are different requirements on their own. The rest is basically the business park that we all are supposed to be abiding by that percentage. Again, as we mentioned, that goes along with the driveways, is we have an impervious surface that we need enough of to be able to have semi-travel in and through the facility, stage some parking, allow that sort of thing. Basically, I took a little time and checked to see what everybody else was in the area, because there were quite a few that looked like they were over. And obviously you can see that all of the ones that I targeted, other than one, are over on the requirement, some of them pretty substantially. So with that, we are looking at 70% is as our proposed.
Okay, and the question I had for you on this one is you're including a settlement pond in the upper left-hand corner.
Correct.
And I realize that that's required for reasons other than this ordinance's requirement.
Correct.
But the ordinance's purpose is to consider having enough green ground to take the runoff and let it soak in. That's the way I understand it. Have they accomplished that with what they've
Milling
done?
pond.
Does the ordinance give a break if they're gonna collect it all and let it go in a?
Not from the green space requirements. The impervious coverage, I think you're asking about?
Yep.
No.
Okay.
Would that?
They're two separate, I guess they're separate. Not-
We do meet stormwater requirements that are required by the engineering division for the property.
Right, but if they propose 70-30, they still have to meet stormwater standards. It's just they propose something that doesn't comply. It doesn't necessarily impact the stormwater directly.
Would that pond not make up the 22% then? Would that be that pond area be counted?
Pond would be considered green space. That
The
would
pond
count.
is considered?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Is that the way you considered it?
For this purposes, yes.
So 78 assumes that all
The pond.
that extra stuff.
Whatever's in green, pretty much.
Yep.
But I mean, in some sense, the rationale for impervious surface requirements anywhere is about stormwater management, not just about the aesthetics of the
They go hand
landscape,
in hand, I
right?
guess.
They go hand in hand, but in an industrial park, maybe that could be looked at a little differently.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I do have another question for you. On the picture that shows the original, I presume as it is now, there's kind of an arc of trees that runs through that. Can you explain what that is, what it was,
That
why
was,
you guys selected to leave it in place?
Well, that was a set of railroad tracks we used to get rail cars in.
Okay.
So we haven't done that for a long time, and there's no way to cut it, so it just like grew up in the tracks. The tracks are gonna be taken out.
Oh, and you can see a similar arc on the adjacent property.
Yep, I saw those too, and I thought, okay, it's probably railroad tracks, but at the same time, I couldn't figure out why you left it, but.
Well,
You
there's
didn't need
always
it,
the
so
chance of
what
putting
the
it
heck?
back in. One manager would, that
Did
comes
you,
in.
does the current owner of the property, did he always have that extra space up there? I mean, or did you guys, the owner buy that extra parcel so that he could make his expansion?
No, they always
They always
had.
had that?
Yeah.
So it was always held in reserve, so to
Yep,
speak.
by the railroad tracks border.
So the pond is new.
Correct.
Right. Designed to capture the entire site now, to kind of re-engineer it, so to speak.
Capture
Yeah.
the-
There currently is very little stormwater management to the property,
And so you're upgrading that.
without question.
Okay. Okay.
Further questions? All right, thank you for standing that period of time. I could have asked you to sit down, but I apologize.
That's all right.
Engineers, we sit all day.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good attitude. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, I have a thought. It's a comment on measurements taken nearby. As someone sitting on this board, the fact that they're higher or whatever is not good for your case, just so you know. Because it's like telling me there's a problem here. Okay? So just giving you some feedback on what you gave us.
It was a consideration of
Okay.
mine, because I don't want to question ordinance necessarily.
Right.
You have it for a reason.
Right.
Like I say, basically, that's kind of what I wanted to show with that first one, is to see that we're trying to stay in our confines the best way we can.
Right. And
You
I
know, we
understand.
want to grow the business, it hasn't grown in a very long time, by providing some semi-parking, by providing the semi-travel. We're really not leaps and bounds adding something that we're not going to be utilizing.
No, I
You
like
know.
the pond, the fact you're addressing stormwater runoff is excellent,
Sure.
but I'm just giving you feedback.
It was a curiosity on my end as well. I really
Okay.
wanted to understand if because some of them look pretty impervious, so
Right.
I was curious.
Okay, gentlemen, we have 3 variance requests before us on this. I want to take them one by one. let's talk about the truck, the driveway. and the-
I think this is something that we identified as a problem in the code as it stands for this district. And although we asked, you know, it to be considered a plan commission, and the planning department said, no, it's not, juice isn't worth the squeeze, we don't have enough of them to warrant changing the zoning ordinance, although, let's put it in the parking lot for the next overhaul of the code maybe, but,
Well, and that will be in consideration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take another look at it.
yeah, but I think we have been consistent on the notion that, hey, when you're in an industrial park and you got semi-trucks coming and going, you gotta have a reasonable accommodation for them in the driveway, and I think they've made their case
Yeah, I
for the variance on that one, and, you know, I'm gonna support it.
I really like the drawing too, it demonstrates.
Yeah, it
Good
shows that
job
they
of
can,
it.
that wider driveway, they can get in there safely without
Yeah.
crossing into oncoming traffic in order to get the turn.
Right,
Yeah.
so I agree.
I think we're all in agreement there.
All right, let's vote on that one so we can get that one on.
I move to approve the first variance as requested.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion made to approve the first variance that's been asked for on this piece of property regarding the driveway width. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. All right, one down. The next request that he had concerned the 10 feet versus 15 feet. Oh,
We're getting it though, right?
well, Jesse's hoping that this is all gonna wash out and it'll be one big vote for,
Well, because mine's not popping up the whole meeting. You know, you normally have to pop up and
This is the
record it.
first one I popped up.
Oh, really? Okay.
I haven't even considered that yet. Sorry, Jesse. I know that we're supposed to follow the rules here. 10 feet instead of 15 feet. And it's, can you give us a little history? Is it likely conceivable that there wasn't an ordinance of such back then that is now?
Well, we call it a business park, right? But
Yep.
this is a business park standard from the 60s and 70s, which is much different than our current standards. So we're trying to kind of retrofit requirements in our current code to a development that occurred 50, 60 years ago. So that's why there's this kind of rub against
Okay.
the ordinance.
Yeah, I think forcing a 5-foot jog in a building to comply with the new setback requirements is, yeah, it doesn't make
I don't know,
sense.
why would we do that?
That we're imposing the hardship, then I think.
That,
Yeah.
if they were gonna build a new building and they wanted that,
Yeah,
that might be a different
then
story.
then we'd be
But
talking about.
It's an existing building, the notion of grandfathering in this particular instance is we have support.
I would move that we approve the second variance as requested.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the 10 versus 15 feet on the back lot line variance request. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got that one down. I think that was a 5-0. Let's talk about the last one regarding the concern about the impervious surface.
I think the fact that this, you know, that there's other, you know, this is a business park zoning district, but light industrial and general industrial districts allow for 80% impervious surface. They're talking about 78%, you know, up to 80, and the mitigation that they're adding with the stormwater retention. I think this is another area where maybe we've got a little bit of a mismatch between what we're asking for in one part of the code versus another part of the code, and I'm gonna support this.
Yeah, exactly. That's the exact same reason I have the same opinion. Looks like the spirit of the ordinance, at least in the sense of industrial park, is satisfied.
And I think they're certainly improving the landscape of that lot. When we saw the air photo of just scrub and gravel and, you know, and miscellaneous vehicles, that this is a lot better looking, you know, site plan overall, and I think it's worth supporting. So I move approval of variance number 3 as requested.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Okay, if Jesse wants to give us an option to vote for 5-0 on all 3 of them, or have I missed that? All right,
You got it.
fine.
It was so left out.
Yeah, that's the story of my life. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, we've done 1, we've done 2, we've done 3. We'll go to number 4. The Crafts on East Shore Drive.
It's me.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Judy.
Hi, have a chair and make your case.
Right here?
You may.
Thank you. Well, we've got a, probably about a 50 or 60-year-old garage that's 20 by 20. And, oh, that's my new drawing, yeah. And it simply is just not functional. I can no longer lift the solid wood door, and it's too low to be able to have a new door put in. The garage has had its day. And that's the new garage, that's my drawing.
Nicely done.
But anyway, what we're hoping for is a 24 wide, which I think is standard today. I know our neighbor across the road has got a 24, and that's my driveway. Well, anyway, the length I'm asking for the garage part to be 30 long, and then the addition in the back, which would be a continuation on that wall, is for a garden shed. The land between the garage and the road is all garden. So I do a lot of gardening, I do a lot of stuff. And I'm hoping to keep it separated from the rest of the garage. Put stairs in the back so that we have rafters that, like our neighbor, we have a neighbor 2 doors away that has a storage area above. And I desperately need that. So anyway, the area is, would be kind of almost on that line, maybe about a half a foot over. We can't go any closer to the house because that's a 30 by 35 foot, very expensive dog kennel. It's got retaining walls, 6 high, done with a laser that I did, with 42 yards of earth in there. So consequently, we're just simply trying to, have a normal garage. 20 by 20 is not normal. Not for what our needs are after living there for so long. So the house itself is not in a flood zone. The garden and the garage is, so we'd be elevated. And so would the driveway, at an angle. So that would be provided for. And the building on the side, we have a building off on the side towards the front of the house. That actually was a summer kitchen that the owners that we bought from had that, and the fireplace in there. We've not used it per se for that. That gives us, if we add up the square footage of the garage, of this, and the square footage of that shed, which we probably, in time, I would like to be able to reduce that down, literally shorten it up. But that gives us 120 square feet over. But we have a lot of land. We've got 100 feet of frontage and I think about 125 feet. So that's what we're requesting.
Okay.
Paul, are we talking about the shed on the side?
No, we're talking about the,
Replacing the
One of
garage.
variances?
garage.
Yeah, but are we talking about the shed on one of the variances?
Well,
Or we
It
need-
counts in the calculation, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, maybe you could explain the variance
Yeah.
considerations that we have here.
Right, so you're allowed 2 detached accessory structures. The first one can be up to 1,000, the second one can be no greater than 150 square feet. And also the building's positioned in front of the principal dwelling.
But is the garage implicated on the size? Is that one of the considerations we're having?
Right. I
The
guess we can
garage.
kind of pick which is
Comes
first.
to
Which
eight-
one is
Comes to
primary?
880.
Okay. But isn't that compliant with the 1,000?
It is, but then
The
the
second
shed,
shed is 240.
That old
Puts us
shed.
over the 1,000?
But which is non-compliant even with the 880 square foot garage, isn't it?
well, it's
It's the number and the size, so you're allowed 2, and
Right.
there's distinct square footages for each
a
one.
matter of 120 extra square feet on the property. Because
But I thought a second structure was limited to 150 square feet regardless.
It is.
So with the existing garage.
Yeah, I don't know the circumstances.
Yeah,
how they were-
right, but if
Yeah.
they were coming to ask to build a 244 square foot shed, we would be saying no, or they'd be needing a variance. But it's an artifact of how somebody else used this property, either
Right.
prior to us.
we bought it 46 house 44 years ago, I think,
Yeah.
and it was there.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is here too, with in terms of the garage and the front yard setback, I mean, we're all up and down here because of the site, we approved these
We've been very
regularly.
flexible.
Double front,
Yeah.
basically.
The front yard, we've gone through all of these before. I mean, it's just the makeup of that land there.
And the land, as I said, between the proposed addition, the extra 4 feet, is all garden.
And you can't park in that existing summer kitchen,
Oh, God, no.
right?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's not, you
Sorry,
couldn't make
I
it a
didn't say
garage.
that.
Right,
No,
I'm just.
no,
yeah.
no.
So it's not a garage.
We did have a garage door put on it, because that's where we put lawnmower, some.
That's your garden
lawn-
shed.
Yeah, exactly, it's like a shed.
Garden shed slash
And some
summer
wood
kitchen.
and stuff,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And a shelter for
I bet most
stray
of
cats.
the people younger than me don't know what a summer kitchen is.
That's right,
But essentially, what your argument is that, hey, I want to make a bigger garage.
that's right.
And then the city's saying, well, that's, you've already got too many. To me, this is a second garage that you want to make, or a garage that you want to make a little bigger.
That's all it
It's
is.
not-
And it's not ridiculously bigger, and it's conforming to the common standard garage
Yeah,
dimensions. and
It's got to be in the front because.
That's the way, that's the land that she's on right now.
Yeah, there's no way to put it towards me.
I don't
There's
know.
just no way.
Well, you heard from Noel and me. Thoughts about on this end, Tim?
Yeah,
Tim?
no.
If someone could, I'm lost, I'll be honest.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically, we have a garage that she's trying to expand.
Yes.
She would tear down the
How big
existing
is the
garage
garage?
and rebuild.
Correct.
It's-
How big is the current garage and how big is the new garage?
The current garage is 20 by 20.
Okay.
It's a baby garage.
Yep, and then the next
And
one
the
will
next one would
be,
be 24 wide.
yep.
By, the garage per se would be 30
Okay,
feet.
and let's take that shed off the table for a second right now. If she
Yeah.
was rebuilding that garage as she wants with all the extra additions that are on it,
Yeah.
the stairwell, all the different things, she's good.
Except for the front yard setback of it.
Well, yes,
Except
correct.
the front
That-
yard.
Which
that
might
part.
be like guys, I'm looking, you know what, I'm looking at, forgive me, but just want to show you something. If I look at their garage.
Yeah, I
See,
didn't
it's
mean
right-
setback, I meant actually
Yeah, I think
that
this
it's
is
in the
the
front
line.
of the
Oh,
property.
okay,
itself.
okay, yeah.
I'm just saying for the second variance,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
accessory structure. So the garage itself on its own would be fine,
Yeah.
but because there's this other thing that
Yeah.
exists and predates
That's
her,
one of the questions.
that is what's triggering what she wants to do. If that was gone,
We have this-
no problem.
Well, they still maybe have that issue of being in the front. but-
Well, the front, yeah, take that one off the table too.
But, yeah, and the thing is, so we'd be saying in effect, if we said, no, you can't do it with that accessory building, we'd be saying, yeah, you can't have a garage that is proper, current, acceptable, modern garage that has a door that you're able to open or even purchase to replace the one that's there without tearing down another building on your property that predates your ownership of that property.
Because of a
And I
shed
think-
that's
And I
not
think
even
that's,
actually
again, that's the sort of situation where our implementation of the rules then is, I think, creating a hardship for the petitioner.
Correct, but the question I had is that you had, I feel like you had mentioned that you were going to do something with that structure?
Once we get some storage in the garage,
Yep.
that's decent, then I would actually like to shorten that shed up, perhaps even redo it in a smaller vein, keeping the fireplace, but then shortening it so that it would be compliant and not with the same footprint.
You're going to commit to that?
I plan to, yes, because the windows are, it's beyond fixing those, I mean, it's time.
Okay.
Is the decision not to do them both at the same time, since you've got people at your building, is it a financial? I don't know.
Well, I
if that's
think,
the question, but-
it's.
Well,
it's
she
gonna-
explained that she's got stuff back there. She's gonna build a bigger garage with proper storage. so
Move
she can-
everything.
she can
Yeah,
get
yeah, and then I'd like to.
Stuff out. She may wanna keep the fireplace arrangement,
Exactly.
but she's proposing a smaller building, indeed one that would come very close to
Keep our wood in,
perhaps
yeah.
meet the requirement.
I mean, I can't tell you exactly the date, right now. I just want to get through this. My husband had a stroke a couple years ago, so, I'm dealing with all this. And we've got a contract from a good friend of ours from Andyville. And he does wonderful work, and so he's.
He's available.
Yeah, he's a good guy, good friend. And he's sought after in Milwaukee and all over the state, so.
Cool, I'm good, thank you.
Does a nice job.
I don't have any other questions for the petitioner. I'm inclined to support it as it's requested. I mean, I understand what she's proposing to do in the future, but I don't want to tie her hands to that.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the variance for this item. All in favor? Aye.
And Greg, thanks for blowing it. I had a perfect streak going at that.
Yeah, I know, I had to get one here.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome. Was that was a 5-0?
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
Anyway, I can't, I don't see any votes, so sorry.
Okay.
All right.
I gave up too.
Okay. Anyway, we won't let that interfere with our progress. Let's see, I guess we've wandered our way up to the 621 South Clay Street property. Mr. Jandrain?
Yes.
Could you make your case?
Yeah, I'm Chris Jandrain. My wife and I are the sole members of Mobed LLC. We're real estate investors and own and operate 38 rental units in the city of Green Bay and another 13 or so outside in the surrounding area. I'm requesting approval to retain a garage which was planned to be moved under project 69700. So after preparations were made by pouring a new driveway and slabs for the garage, the contractor examined the garage structure further and determined it would be too risky to move the original garage and refused to do so. A different garage was brought onto the site to fulfill the contract, and this resulted in 2 garages on the property. And this being the case, I would like to retain both garages.
And to do so, you need some variances.
The variance, only really variance is maximum size of the second structure at 150 square feet. So original garage would be the smaller accessory building, it's at 435 square feet. The newer garage is 527 square feet total for both, it complies with 13-615C4, no more than 30% rear covered by accessory structures. So I'm at 19.4% on that. Total garage space with 2 accessory buildings at 962 square feet does not exceed the ground floor square foot of the house, which is 1054. The total square footage of both accessory buildings does not exceed the maximum size of a first structure at 1,000 square. That's table 6, and it conforms to all of the required setbacks, and it conforms to the number of structures allowed, which would be 2. Okay.
We'll put,
There you have it.
so why are we here?
Kind of same issue as before, you've got
So
second,
2 buildings, you can't be over 150 square
Second
feet.
building.
second structure's over 150.
Okay. So the hardships, making conformity unfeasible or unnecessary. The ordinance does not allow me to enjoy the use of my garage space, which was retained due to contractual issues. I bought and paid for the asset. When I purchased the property, I paid extras for the contractor to move a different garage on site to fulfill his contract. And the cost to build this same garage space would probably be between $15,000 to $20,000, whatever. The hardship is that if the original garage building must be removed, then I'm destroying property value, potential property value that's already there. I've already restored the original garage to a certain level, and further renovations are planned if the variance is granted. I've painted the original garage to match the new siding color of the house. I've spent about $2,000 so far for the original garage renovation and painting. Hardship would be that if the building must be removed, I lose the sunk of the $2,000 or so dollars that I've put into it already. And an additional hardship would be the financial responsibility to raise the original garage if the variance is not granted. So the estimated raising and restoration costs $3,000 to $5,000. If the variance is not granted, the city of Green Bay and Brown County would endure the hardship of reduced property value and thus lower tax base.
I guess I'm a little confused yet. You were prepared to raise the original garage?
No, I was just gonna move that original garage and place it where the relocated garage is now.
Okay.
What happened, he found a donor, my contractor, like I say, he was under contract to move that garage. He found another garage that had to be removed from a different property and placed it on my site.
Because he thought it was better, it was safer to move that one than to move the
Yes.
existing one.
But the original garage is still a perfectly functional garage, and, you know, who doesn't like to have garage space?
Is the old driveway, was the old driveway on the other side of the house?
Yes.
Is it gone?
The curb cut is still there. I've reseeded it, but it hasn't really taken since I've done that. And I wasn't under
Yeah, I
any
see that.
requirement to remove that original curb cut, so. And actually, the other property, the other home, right next to me there, you know, there's sort of like, almost like a shared driveway area, so they would tend to use that same curb cut anyway.
So I guess what I'm trying to understand though is there a driveway that exists that is gonna continue to exist that should be pictured on here, on that drawing? Are the tenants gonna use two driveways on this property to serve both of those garages, I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
It depends, I guess, on the future use of the house. Right now, I'm, you know, renovating that house, and, you know,
They're only entitled to one driveway cut per tax post.
So
It's
regardless
one-
of what we do here, that other driveway's gonna go away?
We'll have to go.
Oh, we'll have to
That's
go
part of
away,
the permit.
okay.
okay, and what is, so when you say go away, you mean just reseed it and?
Yeah, yeah.
And it
there's
just
not
The
gonna
curb
becomes
cut will have to
lawns
be
there.
closed up.
Right, because I'm just,
Because I didn't really have a requirement prior to close up the curb cut, even though that garage was gonna be moved over.
Right.
But, you know, as you say, that's fine if that's gonna be required.
I don't think we're saying he has to replace the curb cut. I think we're saying he's got to not use and get rid of that driveway.
He would have to abandon the drive.
Yeah, and I'm talking about really between the sidewalk and the garage on the north side of the house. That's gonna be yard, that's not gonna be another driveway.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was the original,
That was
that
your
was
picture.
planned, and
Okay,
it's gonna be reseeded.
okay.
You had referred to an original project with a original project number.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, what did that, I don't understand what that was.
That project was, well, it included building a new driveway, and it also.
Was that just a building permit or?
Yeah, there was a building permit to construct a new driveway, pour the slab for the relocated garage, and then move the original garage to the new slab.
We don't normally see that, that's all.
We wouldn't have seen it because there wasn't a variance required. So
Right.
what
No
the
variance.
project number that you're talking about is a.
Right, there's no
unique
variance
variance.
required for that
Yeah, it's
one.
related to you guys, yeah.
Okay.
Like I say, it was just because it would have been an unsuccessful attempt, or the contractor refused to move that structure, you know, because he thought it was too risky.
Sure. And so then this just becomes a 435 square foot outbuilding shed, storage, whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
And they're just they just happen, one of them happens to be the wrong size. Everything else is okay.
Yeah.
Setbacks,
Yeah.
square footage,
Yeah.
pervious surface, it's just that instead of being like 900 and 100, they're,
Yeah. I don't have any other questions for the petitioner.
questions, Greg, Tony, Jim? Okay, sir, if you could have a seat, we will deliberate.
So I've got a really goofy suggestion that I think crystallizes this for me as a yes, and that is, if he put a 5 by 10 or 5 by 7 foot 6 inch tube connecting these two structures in the backyard, if he connected them physically into one building, he's still under the square footage and he's good to go.
For one garage,
for one garage. You could call it one garage with this virtual, you know, could have put a pergola between the two of them or something, I don't know, you know, and call it good. So from my perspective, with the big thing here is I didn't want to have us contribute to another drive lane on the other, drive lane on both sides of the house. If this is just gonna be some sort of a, you know, an odd building in the back of an old lot, and like we've got all over town, and it's not the primary garage, and the total garage is underneath the square footage of the principal structure, I'm inclined to say yes to it.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm fine with it.
I'll move to approve the variances requested.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to approve the variance as requested for the, let's see, make sure I say
Can I add
this
can I add a stipulation? Just,
Yeah.
and let's just say, in that communication clarifies that there will be no drive lane on the north side of the house.
Okay.
Second again.
Okay, and this is moved and seconded for the property, for the variances requested for 621 South Clay Street. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. You're opposed. 4-1. You have your variance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Richard Fisher. Fisher and, we got, yeah, I think that's the next one, sorry.
Yep, that's right. Number 6.
Obviously, I'm incapable of using an agenda that's been modified. All right, sir, you can make your case.
I'm Rick Fisher, I'm with Fisher & Associates Architects, and I've been working with CTS on the north side of town to reconstruct their yard. So currently, they have 2 adjacent lots, and they have been operating under a conditional use that requires we meet 30% green space. And we've gone through an updated conditional use for our new design. So what we're doing is we're combining it's a much larger project than what we see here. This is just a small little piece that I'm coming for the variance for. So we've got a all-new facility. They're changing their entire fleet of trucks from diesel powered to compressed natural gas. So on the right side of the site, we're putting in a compressed natural gas system where the trucks essentially plug in to a natural gas pipeline that fills them overnight. Our next phase after that is to reconstruct the building, because under their current shop, the flammable gases all go down to the floor, but when you have compressed natural gas, they all go up. So second phase is rebuild the building with a new structure. The current building sits in the spot where the stormwater management pond is. So that building will eventually come down, the pond will get built. We conform to all the other ordinance requirements. We meet a 30% green space requirement. What I'm here for a variance for is for our driveway width. We've been through several different options. This facility maintains, is it about 100 semi-trucks, and they also own 1,200 trailers that are dispersed throughout all their customers. Essentially what they do is they own the trailers that everything gets shipped in. So if you're a customer, they'll deliver a trailer for you, you fill it up, they pick it up and move it and drop off another one. So this yard sees quite a bit of traffic, maintaining their fleet of 1,200 trailers that are off-site. The ones that are on-site are for repair primarily. And then obviously the new tractors. So what we've been working on, several different iterations of the yard. Essentially, it becomes we're trying to separate the tractor-only use from the tractor and trailer use. Anyway, it's a counterclockwise travel for our trailers. We're trying to maximize the usable space so we can meet all the turning requirements for the trailers. But we realize that a majority of the trucks come from the left side of the site. Almost none come from the right. Currently, they have a 40-foot wide drive location, approximately where the where the driveway was located. The other one that looks like a drive is not. I think it's just gravel to the, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it's one center drive, 40 feet wide. They have some congestion there, obviously, because the driveway is relatively narrow. If you look at our attached turning radius plan, we had our civil engineer do a turning radius, and under the 25-foot requirement for the driveway width, you have to cross over almost at the curb line on the other side to make the swing into our drive. So what we were requesting, since we now also separate the cars for the office from the yard vehicles, we'd like to widen our driveway width on the inbound side to 52 feet. So we could accommodate a car that's parked to be able to leave the site and a semi to get in. And then on the opposite side, on the east side, we'd like to go, I think it's, well, requesting, is it 30 feet, I think?
Yes.
So, just to accommodate those left-hand turns. So, this is our option H design, I think, for this site. It's been,
I've gone through a lot of them.
Yep. And working with staff has been really, really good. So we've had some really good discussions about how to get the site conforming and different options. And, we looked at a number of different options, and I think I was in 4 times with different ideas.
So this is the minimally non-conforming plan?
Yes. But we beat the green space requirement, which was the hardest thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
you've got a major, you've tore down an old building, you've developed a completely new system on 2 lots now.
Yes.
And after all that, your only variances are driveways?
Yes.
Good job. Okay. Questions?
Is there a sidewalk in front of this?
No.
There's no sidewalk here.
I think we can deliberate, sir, if you care to take a seat. Thank you.
We just had this issue.
Yeah, we just had it.
I mean, that's.
I'm good.
Is that a motion, Greg?
That's a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the variance request for the contract transport services issue. Did you wish to say anything, Tommy? Okay. You were quiet, I didn't want to have it missed.
No, thank you.
Okay, the issue before us, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0, you're good.
I would note to staff that at this rate, if we project a year out, we're gonna have 24 industrial driveway width variance requests.
We've had 3 this year so far, the average is 1.5 over 7 years.
So,
That's not wrong, really.
Number 7, is that the next one, Mr. Baker?
yes.
Properties on Mason Street.
7:03, officially good evening.
Okay, good evening.
Thanks for having me in front. The request today is for a notch of a front yard setback encroachment that we make for a new building that will be placed right here in front of the existing building. I believe you may have in front of you a image that I had sent along that kind of shows the, oh, that did not.
Yeah, that's my
Me and technology are not friends, so I won't blame anyone else. But it's that little dog ear, that northeast corner of the building, within the 15-foot setback along the frontage road, which curves. So you can tell, for instance, here there's no problem. Frontage road's higher, here it dips. A little bit of a problem.
Just for the record, can you quantify the magnitude of that, Nick?
In terms of footage,
Yep.
it literally is about a foot by 3.5 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like it gets down to 12.4 from the 15 required,
Okay.
according to,
Robert E. Lee and Associates?
no, yeah, according to this document here that you submitted for the request.
Hire good people, right?
Okay, so it's a foot or 2.
Correct.
And this is the same sort of thing we've seen with curving roads in the past too. They create an irregular setback that kind of screws up what you'd normally want to be able to do with that site.
That's it?
That's it.
This wonderful big project that you,
That's it.
I thought was so cool. All we're gonna get to talk about.
Well, I think it is
today.
cool. We can talk about anything you want to, but
All right, well, I'm sure that the people still waiting would appreciate it. But anyway, I guess I just point out that there's a great roundabout put in there. I go through that intersection several times.
well, I'll say the very brief statement to that is anyone who has gone through there knows how awful that intersection is. The request today is really phase one of could be maybe a 5-phase plan, but working with Paul and other members of city staff to say, can we make this flow better? So we start with the first stretch today, and we reserve lands to allow all this to happen in some fashion down the road.
Okay.
Smart.
But I should also point out that this layout is conceptual.
Oh.
There's been some opposition from our Department of Public Works, and the planning staff hasn't taken this in officially as a new street layout, so you have to take it for what it's worth. It's a conceptual layout.
I think we could look at the setback requirement off of the existing legal here.
I don't think this contributes to the factor.
Is this the redevelopment of the Hasselblad property?
Yes.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, any other questions? You could have a seat, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, me too.
Just statement for the record, second what Noel said. You know, we've seen curb lots and square things with curves create
Yeah.
hardships
Yeah.
for land.
Curvy lines
So I
and
think-
straight buildings don't necessarily go
I
together.
think that's a good definition of a hardship.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what we're here for. The dimensional
Yep.
kind of things is exactly.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the variance request for the property designated as 2415 West Mason Street for Mr. Fader. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Folks, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Gary.
Have a good night.
Good night. Sharon Bowles, TLC Signs.
I'm here on a totally different topic. So,
We always
Paul,
like
you
signs.
have our drawings that you're able to put up. So I am working with the Washington Middle School and the Washington Middle School for Arts. And we put a sign plan together. Some of it is interior, so if any of you have had our packet, obviously the interior stuff doesn't apply. And I can address any questions relating to the signage. I also have Cindy Olson, the principal from the school, here with me, so if there are any school-related questions, she can field those as well. The school currently has 2 existing signs that you see over there to the left. Existing sign 1 is on the side facing Baird Street, over an existing entrance that just says Washington Middle School. And then existing sign 2 is on the rear side of the school, facing a pretty good sized parking lot back there. And now that there's the middle school and the middle school for the arts, there's no current signage on the property that is notifying, informing people or the public or the community that this is there or where to go for the middle school for the arts. So we have proposed, let's start with this is proposed sign number 3. This will face South Baird Street. And the variance we are requesting for this one is there's 2 parts to it. One, to have 2 signs on the same elevation facing the same street frontage, facing Baird Street. So
Of
that's,
which this is one.
this is one. The other one that you saw on that last page too was this, it's very small, and it might actually be hard for you to see. It's a set of dimensional letters that say Washington Middle School against that brick. They look like they're silver, color tone, gray silver. That other one faces Baird Street. And this particular proposed sign number 3 is over the entrance to the new theater. Auditorium, okay. So we're also asking for a variance to exceed the limit set for a wall sign. These letters are pretty reasonable in size. As you can see that the upper set of letters is 1'6", the bottom one is about a foot, you know, the F there, no, excuse me, the H is about a foot tall. You know, so they're not really exorbitant in size, it's just that there's so many letters, there's so many letters in this name. That is why it's causing it to go over the square footage to spell all that out. So those are two of the variances we're requesting tonight. And then the other two, because this is facing the parking lot in the back of the school, there's no street frontage, and therefore they're considered directional signs. We are directing people when they come to the school where to enter, where to go, for either a performance or to see somebody, you know, a parent-teacher conference in this department, or looking for the right place, so that it's well indicated both on the front of the school and on the back of the school. Directional signage is limited to 4 square feet. Paula can correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's 6.
Was it 6 in commercial and 4 in residential? I don't know, but either way, it's very small amount. So we are requesting a variance to exceed the size for directional signage in this particular case.
That's facing a parking lot?
It faces that parking lot.
Okay,
Where you
that's
see
right.
sign proposed location number 2,
Yeah.
that's where these would go.
Okay.
There's an overhang, this kind of Google Earth view, I'm not sure it even shows the overhang that there is above that doorway that
Yeah.
these will get mounted to. So those are the variances we're requesting, just to help, you know, direct traffic. We don't want people wandering around the school, especially with security and safety needs that are required at schools today. You know, people just wandering around looking for the right place to go. We'll help out the security personnel, and also notify the community of what's there and the ability to send their student or children to this type of learning specifically. So, any
Okay,
questions?
you have any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Thank you, presented your case well, thank you.
Okay, good, thank you.
It's facing a parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, for the, 1 and 2 and 3 was very reasonable, and I think they're all very reasonable.
Yeah.
I, for one, can appreciate having signs
Yeah,
to
me too.
tell me where to go.
I'm
so.
confused a lot.
As somebody who's wandered aimlessly in Washington Middle School looking for a particular place, I appreciate that as well. So. I think that in particular here too, we're talking about a really big building that has a lot of different exposures and has multiple uses in it. So it's not just one school, it's 2 schools, and actually in a sense, if that auditorium had been proposed to have its own identity separate from the school itself years ago, it would have been like a no-brainer to have, whatever, Memorial Auditorium or something like that. So, yeah, for me, this is just one of those things, I think, where our ordinance just doesn't work for the type
Signs are
of
tough.
institutional use that we're looking at here.
Signs are
Right.
tough. I suspect we're in violent agreement, so.
Yeah.
I'd move to approve the variances requested.
I'll second.
Okay, regarding the Washington Middle School variance requests, we have a motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? You're good, 5-0.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, item
Oh, you are?
number 9 on the agenda here is one in which is for an organization that I've got some directive role in and
Okay.
a potential conflict of interest, so I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, very
This
good.
one.
Thank
I'll
you.
actually step out while you work on this one.
Okay, Mr. Dennison.
Yes.
You gave me reading one.
Okay, so, start with this satellite view. Probably should start with hardships first. Our building burned down, that's a big hardship. So that would be this building right here, burned to the ground. So what we're proposing is a new building. I think is the next picture.
that's similar in footprint. We added a single stall garage to serve an accessible unit. We have a firm on board to help us with the accessibility tenants and how to exactly design it. And this is an accessible unit here, so we added the garage with set up for a rear entry handicap van and such. So we added a little space there, and we filled in some corners and things, and it's very similar in size, but a little different. So, one other hardship that we have is the existing, or the structure we lost also did not conform to new rules of the day. It did not conform to the two rules in question here, the 10-foot buffer and the impervious rule. So it would be very hard to replace the structure and conform to those two rules. So the other community hardship, not NeighborWorks hardship, but community hardship, there's a severe lack of accessible units in the city, and especially in the original neighborhoods. Most structures in the original neighborhoods are built up off the ground and don't work well for accessibility, so we're trying to meet that need. So that's one of the reasons the building grew just slightly. Another item is public interest. This project hits most all of our mission points that we would point to. It's revitalizing the neighborhood, which is one of our main goals as an organization. It's a beautiful building. It'll be very nice from the front. I did print these, kind of rendering that we had done. But the front and one side of the building are shown on here. So that's a big part of our organization, is revitalizing neighborhoods and providing housing options. That's another part of our mission. And what we tried to do here with this structure is provide as many accessible units as we could in the footprint and still have a project that's viable and can work financially. So there's a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and a 1-bedroom accessible unit in the first floor plan. It's also nice to have that in a rental situation, because then we can control the use of it. Where if it's in other hands, it can be converted to non-universal design. It can be the use. People who don't need that type of situation may buy in and have it. So we feel it's nice to have control, that we can work with that community and provide housing for them.
Okay, I may be just slow to understand. You said that the original building burned down. Was that NeighborWorks building?
Yes.
Already?
Correct.
So it wasn't that you've come in to redevelop a burned down site. This was your building all along?
Right.
Did it serve accessibly challenged people?
It did not. It had a ramp on it, but it wasn't a good situation because the interior wasn't designed that way. So there wasn't a lot of renovation done to the building before we got it. So it didn't really work very well for that purpose.
Okay. So you've got, your argument is you're rebuilding the building roughly as closely as you can to the original footprint, you believe.
Mm-hmm.
The use will be, that is put to it with regard to accessibly challenged or not, is new. But you had the building before, and it was used for other purposes inside your mission, so to speak.
Correct.
Now, Paul, as I understand it, there's an issue with the buffer zone, or maybe you could explain that.
Yes,
I
there's
think we've seen it once before at that property out on the bay. That's the only one I can remember.
Yeah, there's two variances. This is an office residential zoning, OR, so there's a 60-40 mix as far as the impervious surface, so 60% maximum impervious,
Okay.
40% green, that's one issue. The other issue is, there's a transitional yard that's required 10 feet along this property line here, so we've got a non-residential use, the parking lot, joining a residential use, so there should be a 10-foot transition here, and it's shown as 3. So basically, that transitional yard is to separate that non-residential use with a fence, hedge or berm, some sort of landscaping to reduce headlight glare and other effects from the parking lot.
Yeah. If that would have existed if Neighborhood Works came back and exactly replaced the building with.
Right. This existing line right here, this exists now. This is parking for.
Yeah, so you were, in terms of the ordinance as it stands today, you were non-conforming at that point, right?
Right, so the situation is it may have been a non-conforming structure. They could have rebuilt to the same footprint and same use within a year, but they chose not to do that. They chose to instead.
Oh, I see.
It's basically a reconstruction,
I see.
new construction.
Because they're going outside the bounds that triggered the other variance.
Right, right. So it's like a new site, as if nothing was ever there, so to speak.
Okay.
But this is a residential property.
It's a mixed-use district. It's office residential, so you can have a mix of office and residential together. Multifamily is a permitted use in that district.
Yeah, but.
So it is residential to residential, so to speak, but there's a non-residential component, which is the parking lot.
Oh, I
It's
see.
not the use itself, it's the parking lot.
I see, okay.
That kicks in the 10 feet of the transition.
And the need for the parking lot, to the extent that it triggers this concern, is?
Well, current law is a little different, and we actually need more parking spaces than we did before. So
Oh,
this
okay.
is additional.
Okay.
Not all of them, but you know, some. I
Okay,
don't
so
know
you're
the
caught
difference.
between a rock and a hard place. One part of the ordinance says you need so many parking spots.
Correct.
The other part says you've got to have buffer.
Right, so with the older structure, maybe never even had parking requirements, it just had parking because they needed to have parking. But now, because it's a new site, so to speak, you have to meet the codes, which are the parking calculations up there.
Yeah, and the 22-foot dimension here, 22-foot dimension here are new to this site.
Yeah, right.
So that.
I understand that.
Causes. One other thing I should point out, all our new construction in the original neighborhoods, really, we try to point it towards universal design, accessible design. Because the renovations typically don't work, because like I said, all the homes are lifted up in the original neighborhoods. And it just doesn't work well. So all our infill new builds are condo that we did last year, and that's what we try to do. We try to, because it's our opportunity to have a universal accessible design.
Okay.
So.
Questions?
Just a question, comment. It seems like the design that's being presented, for me, is presenting the opportunity to kind of just rebuild and reuse what you had before. Has there been another, since it's burned down, is there another opportunity to actually build something in this structure, in this lot, that conforms and there's no issues? Like, it seems like, well, this is what it was before, and so that's what we're gonna do, and that to me is what's...
Part of that is financial, I guess. We are, because it's an insurance claim, to build something similar in size and dimension is prudent, because the replacement cost works out way better than the anticipated replacement cost. So if you can mirror it to what you had, you get actual replacement costs versus perceived replacement costs. So that's one of the reasons we like to keep it the same size structure. But
if you reduce the footprint of the actual building itself, would that help the whole situation?
it would. I don't know if I can get to the impervious rule without doing something very drastic.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. It seems like if
Yeah.
the impervious is because of potential parking, right? And so, but that's because of how many units are being put in, correct? Am I understanding? I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah.
Right, if you had less units, it'd be maybe a different story. If you
And
had
then
5 as opposed to 7, or 6 as opposed to 7.
And this is, for me, is because it's in residential, the impervious is, I mean, it's mixed, but the impervious is a little bit, I think, more important considering the other ones we were talking about earlier today.
Right, but that district does encourage higher density residential as well. So 7 units is not uncommon, it's probably the parking that's, and the site itself is maybe not quite large enough to support all of that.
Does the city, does the city have a recommendation?
We do not, we suggest the ordinance, I guess. The only question I had would be in the transitional yard, if it was reduced, would there still be some sort of buffer, some sort of fence or planting that would mitigate that reduction in space, I guess. I don't know if you have any plans, Tim, to put anything up there, or?
We will. That's just the way we operate. I'd imagine it'd be greenery, but we're not to that level of detail yet, but we'll get there. I didn't really think about what to do with that space. I kind of made an early submittal so I could define what the issues would be and then try to achieve those issues. So that was my game plan here.
Now, the garage is very important because it seems it adds to both issues.
The garage is something that is the fancy of the folks, Innovative Service. So they suggested that in weather and such, it's just so much nicer to unload.
Oh, that's a
Clients.
boarding and unloading and unloading area?
Right.
Okay, I got you.
Paul, were you suggesting the possibility of like a fence or something to block the?
Yeah, right, for
lights?
clarification for my purposes, I think we would still enforce what we could through the transitional yard, whether that's a fence or hedge or something. I think that the issue here for the variance is the dimension. It's the 10 to 3, but we still would require something to buffer that use.
Can we put a condition on the approval with that?
Sure.
Okay. I didn't know if that was outside our scope.
I just wanted clarification for my purposes.
Yes.
You can even qualify it as to what color you want to paint it. We have power.
I'd probably go with some sort of upright greenery instead of a fence if that's kind of what I would.
Well, we would want it impervious to site pretty much, so it'd be 4 to 6 feet in height of something.
Okay, well, that's.
A hedge or.
Yeah, what you said was that you're going to enforce that as best you can. I think that's kind of outside the variance.
Right.
Unless we.
Well,
Make it a condition, right?
We can condition if we'd like.
But I also wanted it clear for the board that you're granting the variance, just to eliminate it, or maybe you were under the impression you were eliminating it, but it's more, I think, a dimensional issue. You're reducing the size of it. We can't put a berm in there, but we can still require plantings and a fence to mitigate that.
Okay, you can qualify any approvals that we give to reflect such concerns. I think this is a great idea. I mean, you've got a lot that's too small for what you really want to do, but on the other hand, you're offering to have some new uses put to a piece of property that otherwise couldn't be done, and you're filling a need. There's just a social good here that we need to encourage. I'm okay with reflecting.
I agree.
Okay, me too.
I don't necessarily agree with the.
Go ahead.
The comment.
That's okay, go ahead. That's why I was looking at you.
No, I think, to me, it seems like there's one thing that's happened and we're looking at it as one thing that can happen. And again, like, I try to live in that space, this property, like, the history of it being something else previously shouldn't be a bearing on what we're currently doing. We should be looking at this as a brand new construction. And I feel like the idea proposed is square peg, round hole. I love the idea of all of it, but it seems like the proposal is existing because, well, this is what it was before.
Well, actually, the proposal is quite a bit different than what it was before.
Well, the layout of the lot and the driveway.
They may be trying to do more than they could, they should, but remember, they're trying to, for insurance purposes, they're trying to match as much square footage as was there this is the way you explained it anyway. There's a reason why they're trying to put the square footage the same. But the alternative would be basically to sell the lot and try to put apply their mission to another piece of property.
Well, can't you redesign the whole property completely differently since there's nothing on it? And use the same square footage in different ways? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, to meet the current requirements, it would be very different. We'd have to do quite a bit to get to that level of ratio on the impervious. So is that the concern, the impervious part of it?
I'm one vote. I'm always the guy that, just so you know, from a board perspective, I'm probably a little bit more rigid than the rest of the board, so
yeah,
take my comments as what it is.
If we built the same exact building back, insurance-wise, it wouldn't conform. So that's...
So one of our kind of, I don't know what the right word is, mandates, is that just because something was non-conforming before, doesn't mean we should continue. So a lot of times people will come forward and say, oh, well, there's 17, like he was saying earlier, there's 17 lots around me that are non-conforming. That's almost a negative because it's basically showing that this has gotten out of hand. So we either need to look at the code and make an adjustment to the code, or we need to stop approving these things, or ask ourselves, why are we doing the driveways is a good example of it. And so, earlier we were approving the existing building, they're making an extension. I think I've voted in favor of existing buildings that they're just trying to expand their building a little bit, and the building earlier was off by 5 feet. I've said yes to that before. This, I'm trying to look at it with very, very fresh eyes. And I think it's awesome what the company and the people do. If you had, let's say, 6 units, would that change the parking versus 7?
Yes, that would change it by 1.5, right?
Would any of these decisions, I guess is what I'm getting at, all I'm asking is if any of these tough decisions, would it get us closer to not having variances, or we're never going to get close no matter what we want to do with this, based on what you're trying to accomplish with the property?
Yeah, we could design a different building that would have 6. But we would probably be eliminating an accessible unit.
Yeah. Can I, I don't want to be leader. Can I ask the board, kind of where are we?
Yeah,
where are we leaning?
Is he an outlier, or?
If you guys are 3 yeses and 1 no, let's move forward.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes, but I have the same concerns you have. It's just teeter-tottering just a tad in the yes way.
I think it's societally, I think it's a great thing, and I think it's awesome, and it's a difficult situation to have what occurred. For me, all I'm saying is I appreciate it when people come and say, like, hey, look, here are the options we've explored, and this is the hardship. This is the thing that's going to allow us to maximize our property. We've looked at A, B, C, and D, and this is where we are. And that's why there's a hardship. This property only allows us to do A. To me, I go, that's a hardship. They've explored all those options. For what I'm hearing, it's, hey, this burned down. Let's redo what we're currently doing, and that's going to create issues. And the argument currently is, well, that's what it was before. That's, for me, that's tough.
What could they do with the setup of that the type of business, the type of operation they have, where they have so many tenants.
Well, but that's,
so to speak.
I agree with that question, but I don't think that's our job.
Well, but I'm just saying that the point is the impervious space, but you have to have the parking. Yeah,
Right,
so,
and it's a
so I don't know how you get around. I think that's the hardship.
Well, you can build
Right.
higher, I mean, you can create density and go vertical, it's another way of looking at it, but then that's another issue that.
We deal with so many
neighborhoods would have.
parking issues already, right? We already have parking issues as families grow and expand, right? There's 3 or 4. I mean, I would argue that there's not enough parking on the lot for 7 units.
Well, for this use, there's so much parking that's there's only gonna be 3 tenants in the building that are gonna drive. I mean, the parking is so overblown right now, it's never gonna get used.
But it's required
But it's
because of the
required.
number of people.
Because
By
you know
number
who's
of
already
units.
getting placed? Is that the idea?
Well,
For room.
they're,
The type of people they're gonna put in there.
they're mobility challenged, so there'll be a vehicle bringing them there, and, you know, but they're not gonna have a vehicle, they can't drive. But this person will have a vehicle and the upstairs tenants will have, so it'd be 3 of the units that would have vehicles.
Are there visitors? I mean.
Oh, yeah, oh, sure, their family, oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
those parking lots can probably be used to some degree.
On occasion, they certainly will.
Okay.
Question? Sir, I guess I have a question. Is street parking an option as part of being the requirement of parking
It could
spaces?
be, sure.
And then I guess the other thing I see is that I could see where you could gain about 360 square feet of green space by putting 5 spaces across the back and shifting the other row forward. It would make the corner of the lot green space. Right, where your buffer, where you'd want to have the buffer, so you could get a 18 by 18 green space there, or 21 by 21,
Okay, I see what you mean.
and just eliminate that, keep the circulation internal. I do this quite a bit.
Well, I should tell you, Rick is a great friend of NeighborWorks. He does a lot of work with us. And I think he stayed here because of what was going on here.
Who is, we're not a variance for parking, correct?
You
Like
are.
parking stalls?
You could, sure.
So an
It's a
inverse,
dimensional standard like any other.
so the inverse could be a proposal is, hey, let's eliminate, I mean, he just confidently said, I need 5 slots.
Based on hardship, sure, like any other variance request. right?
And
Depends
apply a
how you
variance
squeeze
for,
it
I
out,
don't
right?
need 16 stalls, I need 6. And that could be the variance, and that then allows them to make more green space
Well,
and
with-
set the setback. and-
With some justification, right, that you feel comfortable with.
Well, I'm saying, that's the inverse of what we're talking about right
Right,
now.
that's right. You can go from 16 to 10 if you want. Sure.
What's the requirement they're
That's easy
meeting
to
by
logical.
somebody's lots? Is it a city, municipal one, or is it?
Zoning also.
Oh, it is?
Hmm?
How it works.
Okay.
But again, for the life of the structure, the use may change somewhere down the road, and then will there be enough parking? So those are things you'd have to weigh.
Well, that's why I was asking, right now, we can confidently say the people that are living in the lower level probably wouldn't need a car, but
Right. And there might be some comfort with the ownership of NeighborWorks because they tend to buy and hold properties. I don't think they're in the market of buying and selling. I think they tend to hold their portfolios, so, you know, again, it's all on a comfort level of what could be spun.
Are we 3 yeses and 1 no? Or maybe, I'm just asking questions, that's all. I don't even know if I'm in, I just
Yeah,
think it's
well,
important we ask some of these
I've
questions.
been trying to make sure I understand it too, because if I have 3, then I'm gonna call for the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a yes?
Or Greg can call the question if he'd like himself.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance requested with the condition we had in the fence and shrub, you know, the fence and greenery along the transition line there.
I got a question. Can we add in an approval the notion of increasing the, permeable space as much as practical?
Sure.
Prior to finishing the design? Okay.
That would be in our mission too.
I would
Add that condition?
add that condition. If you want
Sure.
to add that condition.
I'll amend my motion to add that
Okay,
condition.
and I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion before us and second to approve. the NeighborWorks variance requests in total with some qualifications, which I believe Paul and Jesse understand. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. We're good. Thank you.
Good discussion.
Very good.
Just knows it, you know.
Proud of us.
Did you get it done?
No, I'm yet to get a button tonight.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even here.
I gave up.
Should have grabbed my bag, I could have just gone home.
We got two more items. We have, you're still, at least I was still wondering about this notion that I think we heard on February 13th. which, my gosh, it's so long ago now, I've forgotten most of it. There was something about an administrative permit or something that kind of got us off the hook, but put you guys on the hook.
Staff doesn't want that.
I know, but-
It was about the handicap stuff, is what it was.
Yeah,
Well, right, and those are like things that I think the planning commission and council would have to review and approve. You could delegate authority to the zoning administrator to have more authority, so to speak, or someone on staff to do that.
Like industrial park driveway with widenings.
well, but the issue that she brought up was, what was the issue?
It was something about ramps, right? The ramps, and we run into stuff like that.
It dealt for those situations where there was,
It's an individual use for that one property.
For that
and it
one
sticks with-
owner.
Yep.
For that one user.
And it's not a property decision, it's an owner decision
Right.
that goes with someone else. And there's a permit they get for a ramp or whatever.
and it could go away.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could flag that as an exception. You know, This body here are supposed to have it as well.
We never had one of those in my time here.
We
I
could,
think we had a couple.
we could put, what we could do then is put it as a qualification in our approved variance, for the variance. That puts you guys on the hook for making sure that the use is only, the use expires.
Right, right. I mean, it all comes back to permitting and following up on that.
I thought the most significant thing I took away from that is that other boards of appeals have staff recommendations as to whether or not there was a hardship, the determination of a hardship is valid, and a recommendation as to whether or not the board ought to approve or not.
Yes.
I think that's the,
This one did too,
you know?
in the eons ago, when I first came on. But there was some discussion that when you came on, you made it clear that you were here to not do what the previous person had done. That you weren't there, you weren't here to recommend or unrecommend, you were here to provide guidance to the board.
Right, some bodies do, staff does present reports and recommendations. Politically, at that time of the transition, the previous administration would belabor points on variances, and staff would, in essence, kind of argue and fight against the applicants, and that became politically not appropriate, I guess. I don't know. It's my understanding. So my perspective, and I think our staff's perspective is, I think the requests speak for themselves. The applicants come in, they make a case, they are supposed to describe their hardship and talk through that with you. You being educated, understanding the circumstance, you make a decision based on, you know, what was presented. So that's been the format. I mean, that format can change. I mean, it's been a while, but you know, we're always here to provide information. So if you need something, you should let staff know.
Well, I think generally you've been, at least as far as I'm concerned, fine as far as little inkles you may throw in as to what you may really think. And I do understand the concern that you and your administration may have with getting to one way or the other.
Well,
You never say no either. You don't say, we think this is a bunch of hooey, or we think this is the greatest idea. You guys are crazy if you don't approve it. You know, that, we don't.
But again, you are a court, right? And I think, I don't want staff to influence the court by nagging on you. I think having some written recommendation maybe is legitimate, and you enter that as testimony, I guess, but you know, I'm here to belabor points, and I'm not gonna hammer you over the head, you're not gonna do the same. vice versa.
I think things are a lot different in other places.
Yeah, I just think about the tests for the hardship that we talked about in that training. Even if there was just a check, and, oh, no check, you know, sort of thing might be initial start for us to go like, you know, somebody looked at this, it didn't just hear this person pitching at the table, but somebody looked at this beforehand and read it against the ordinance consistently
Went through the analysis.
and said, it doesn't meet all the tests.
Right, so this is right from our ordinance. I mean, this could be a, kind of a box on each
Yeah,
line, and
yeah.
they would have to check the box. But I mean, in some sense, they do that already with their application, but, you know, you have to, again, reason, is that a legitimate hardship? I guess that's always a challenge for the board, right? Is this even right?
Well, I think
Yeah, or
what
maybe
I-
we've got to amend our form to be more consistent with this.
I think the two things that I have seen consistently since I've been on the board is from a functional, like how our meetings run, that I think we can make a change and speed up the process. And then two, making sure that the people that are showing up understand what the process looks like. When I say the word hardship and we say it to them, it's emotional, it's financial, those aren't hardships. And so being able to previously have them understand, look, your presentation is about the hardship of what your intent is on your land and how your land prohibits you from doing that, and making sure they understand that, whether that's giving them this beforehand and saying that is your case you're making. Two, the functional piece of it is that I don't think they should be presenting their plan. To me, that takes up so much time because they don't know what they're talking about, whereas you speak a common language with us. So if there was a way that you could come in and say, look, here's the situation, this is what they're trying to do, and you could do it significantly
Tom
faster
used to
than
do
them.
that too.
Right.
Tom
And then-
had an opinion, but he also laid out the whole story for us. which
The
I
previous
think- I think
gentleman,
Tommy's got a point.
the previous gentleman that was talking about the driveway, he's so innately, right, because he's trying to give us care about what his project is. At the end of the day, it was driveways, and we care about the driveway.
Right.
And so if you were able to cut the fat out and say, look, this is who this gentleman is, here is the application, this is the plan, this is the issue, we're looking at this ordinance, boom.
But-
Then now you say, perfect.
I disagree.
Why is that a hardship? And then they present what their issue is.
I appreciate hearing from the people. I think I disagree. I think you need to hear from them. You know, some of the stuff they bring up is irrelevant, true, right? But yeah, I like to hear their reasoning. I think it gives me good insight, and it gives them saying, they can walk away saying, I had a chance to talk.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's not like we're not giving them a chance to talk. They're
Well,
presenting their case as to why the variance doesn't work for them.
I get it, but I'm just saying, people want to make sure they had a fair shake at it. If they walk in and they can't do any talking.
But I want to make sure I'm very clear. He's presenting, here is the plan, here is the variance. So we're focusing on what the issue is.
I think there's a middle ground that maybe we can talk about, and that is not that he's gonna present the whole case.
No,
But
just
but
the issue.
that Paul can get up and say, these are the three variance issues before us, boom, boom, boom.
And you can walk through the plan, this page shows this variance, here it is, this plan shows this variance, boom. So I get lost, I'll be honest, and I feel very
That's fine. I'm fine
ignorant
with
here
that. I just want to
sometimes.
make sure that people have a chance to talk.
100%.
Yeah.
But then they're presenting this, not the plan. Because earlier, I don't even know if there was a knowledge of what was being applied for, right? The argument.
Yeah, but we can't, but staff can't like sketch up the plans, try to interpret what these folks are asking for, and then put something together. I mean, I think one of the things we've got to look at, I think, is how much time it's going to take to administer this, right? And so we should be careful to, figure out maybe some steps that we can start to optimize, but the trick is with all of us is we want to start re-engineering these site plans when we do. We're close, but we're not quite there, and we can't do that at the table here effectively, and certainly staff can't do that in preparation. I mean, the best we can do is say, close but no cigar. Do you want us to call the question tonight and vote no, or do you want to table it for a month? And you can go back and draw another picture and come back, and maybe we'll say yes to that one.
Right, so we try and coach applicants the best we can. They come into the counter, they talk to our staff, we say, look, here's the application, here's the information. It's kind of laid out for them what they have to do, and talks about some of these criteria. So they're made aware of this on the front end. Do they comprehend it? I don't know, but we try and work with applicants and get the site as best we can. Like the gentleman on, was it Alpine? He just didn't have an accurate site plan, and you didn't have the comfort with that. We can only get them so far and push them so far. But I mean, when you have someone come in like a Rick Fisher who's a professional, they do that all the time. That's their job.
Yeah.
They can draw it, no problem.
Yeah, I think, and I gotta say for me too, looking at that list of things, I can in my head read through that and go, yep, or no, to a lot of the things that we see that I don't quite get to with the form as it's currently prepared for the variance application. Maybe one of the things we should look at is just retooling the variance application form to make it include explicitly these elements. To say, okay, describe, how, this, I mean, some of these are written backwards, or whatever, we're gonna maybe put them into more plain English, but,
I would agree, but you're still gonna get the response, the dog ate my homework.
yeah, oh, sure, but the thing is, if it's like, what's the exceptional circumstance of your, property or the lot, so that out in front of the ones on either side of it, and it's screwing up my setback. But in this case here, it's like, well, it's just not big enough for my camper. It's like, well, no, we can go like, no, that doesn't cut it,
Well, I think the applicants should be told very clearly that
I like my camper.
the board will ask them what they intend to do if they don't get a variance. Because that's a question that we have to put to them to really get it. And if they know in advance, they have to have an answer for that. And that may.
Why? I don't care.
I want to know what they.
I don't want to know that, because then all you're doing is asking them to raise the stakes and make it a threat. I'll move out of the city and pay my tax dollars to Bellevue. I mean, that's.
Well, I always want to hear what they intend to do if they don't get the variance.
Well, I phrase it different when I ask people, when they ask, what are my chances of getting a variance? I'm like, I don't know what your chances are, you have to go to the board and find out, but they like to see options. So if you have 3 options, they'd like to see that you've actually thought about it.
Yeah.
And that helps educate them a little bit, so it's a different way of looking at it.
But that's a good way to do it,
Yeah.
as long as they do it, but.
It kind of forewarns them a little bit, and they gotta be a little prepared.
I'm gonna wait for you outside. That's what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do.
Well, perhaps if
I don't wanna hear
applicants
that.
saw these before, the lists like this, they would start to question whether or not they have a chance.
Exactly, right? The guy who's coming with 1 foot extra just for the
Right,
road or
start to be
whatever,
like, oh.
might start going, oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna try and figure out how to do this with an 11-foot wide
Yeah, because
addition
this seems
instead of
a little more
12-foot wide
complicated
addition.
than
What is the fee?
$75.
For residential, 150 for commercial or industrial.
So it's a small price.
It's worth, it's worth a gamble, right?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what-
yeah.
I mean, we would suggest higher fees, but that's a council decision, so that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last 2 chairmans ago got it raised.
It was like 25 or something.
It was real low, and he was getting 30 or 40 variance requests a night.
Yeah, I think, we could tier it so that, it's $10 if you want to expand a driveway in an industrial district. But it's $100, or it's $500 if you want to,
Third
have
garage.
added for your camper.
I'm sure that would float really well.
Do you want me to look at a different format? I mean, we've kind of updated the application, I think, recently, I guess. I mean, we don't want it to be overwhelming either, where it's like 5 pages. We can put it, try and get it on 1 page, I guess, has been our goal.
Yeah, or this might be 2 sides of 1 sheet, but.
But the sheet that they gave us at that training had 3 boxes that had to check. I think there was a 4th one as like an optional 4th box. I have it at home.
Yeah, we should.
And there's some standardized stuff that other communities have that we can tap into and,
Maybe take a look.
Because that was one of the things that I think was very eye-opening to me, was that it had to check every one of those boxes, and if one of those boxes was a no, it's
a
gone.
no, right.
Right? And so this, when I read it, it starts to get into that verbiage where I kind of start to gloss over and go, I'll just take a chance and I'll gamble, and I'll speak to half of these if I quite understand them. That other thing was pretty straightforward, I felt like. So I think there's getting something from I'm more of like a process. I took away a process thing. There needs to be something up front, whether it's a higher fee or more language that explains, this is what your case should look like. This is why you're coming before the board. It's a variance. These are the boxes it needs to check, or read through this and make sure you can speak to this because they're going to ask you about this, is important. I still.
And then maybe there's some aspect of our conversation becomes more of like, well, you filled this form out and you only checked, 2 of these boxes. why should we even consider hearing this if this one isn't met and this is a requirement of the code? And then you might hear something that is truly a compelling
Right, the
reason
you're like,
to go.
okay, that makes sense.
Perfect.
yeah.
And I think for us, we fill in a lot of the homework a lot of times, and I don't think that's what we're here to do. So the homework should be done beforehand. They should be coming prepared as a court to prepare to present their case. This is why this is super important. This is why I can't do it otherwise, and this is why.
Right.
But I still stand by the fact, I'm not saying they can't speak. They're here to present their case.
Yeah, I didn't.
But every single time we do this, it's actually funny. We will let them talk, and then the majority of the time it's you. Say, Paul, I'm a little unclear. Can you walk me through ABC? You stand up and you walk through it, and everybody on the board goes like this. Oh, right? Because you described it in a certain way. So if there's an overview of the case before you, hey, we're listening to Paul versus, the flag, whatever, and this is what the case is.
Yeah.
Great, now make your case. I think that's going to speed up the
The woman who came tonight with the garage between her house and the road, when she said, I don't know if that would have made it.
do that.
What's that?
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
But that's part of her case.
Yeah, but the thing is, and she might not have, some folks might not have thought to write something like that, but I gotta tell you, that was, for me, it was like, yeah, I get it, because I've known built old garages, and you can't get a modern door on an old garage sometimes, because they don't make the doors to fit anymore, and it's like, okay, you replace the garage, and then that triggers other things in this case, but for me, it was like, yeah, you need a new garage.
So at the Plan Commission, we have staff that presents report and recommendation. We get up in front, we go through the basics, where it's located, we have an aerial map, the zoning, the comp plan, we give the basics of it. And I can do that for the board if you want to see something like that, but it's a very factual thing. It's not my opinion, it's just, here are the facts.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, and then let the.
And then you can invite the applicant up, and then
Perfect.
you at least have been prepped a little bit. You can ask me
And
questions
you
before
set the
you.
terms of the discussion, which
Right.
is important, because otherwise they wander off.
Parameters, so to speak, yeah.
Example tonight, the Washington Middle School. I'm at home thumbing through, and people are super in-depth, right? Like in limited time to really try and dive in and understand some of this stuff. But then there was the 3 to 4 additional photos in there, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a door.
There were some of
this
them that
and
we
stuff.
didn't need, yeah.
Right, and so to be able to just say, look, these are the pictures, boom, 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 and you do such a good job. When you're asked, you go to the aerial, you say, here it is, this and this is where it is, you point it out on the line. Sometimes I'm going, I don't even see where you're talking about right now.
Right. Sometimes applicants come up and they flounder a little bit because they're not used to public speaking, or
Exactly.
they don't know where to
They don't-
start.
they
So I
don't-
mean, staff can start the conversation, at least if you have questions, you can ask me, we can get the ball rolling, they can come up and embellish, I guess, from that point. Yeah, we can do that.
Well, let's try that anyway, to have a little more expansion of the role you play as of setting the tone, setting the terms
At
of.
least I can
what we're
point to a map and show you where it is, you can think about, where is that again, and I can
You may
also.
wanna, I think this is where you may not want to go. You may want to also point out, these are the issues you may want to think about as you look at this variance request.
Sure, yeah.
So that we're reminded in case some of us are, like me, slow enough to miss the main point.
Or there's a unique circumstance that isn't in the application that maybe the applicant didn't want to disclose or didn't know about. I mean, we can share that what we know.
Yes, right,
So-
right.
But I think like these questions, turning those into questions will get them to say some of that,
Yeah.
because it's a little bit more, because we've got described what unique physical characteristics affect this property which will prevent you from complying with the zoning ordinance, isn't saying the same thing as number 2 up there. There's some different stuff, and there isn't this notion of the preservation of property rights, except in to say that granting this will neither harm the public interest. But,
I know that the code that we are given by the city council is a little different than the ones that we hear about when we go to the sessions with the people from Stevensburg.
yeah, I'd love to maybe talk about it over maybe a couple meetings, like at the end of them like this, but to look at a revised application form that incorporates more of this explicitly and some of the stuff from the training we had. Like, I love a checkbox thing that just kind of gets us to, you know, are you barking up the wrong tree, Fred, or what?
Yeah, well, item 3 is a big one, and you're right, we never heard anything like that from Stevens Point. Number 3, I've never seen in any, any law. As I've read all those Zervogel and all those kinds of things, I haven't seen anything on 3, so 3 is, to me, kind of unique.
Is that the one that, where people are leveraging, well, like,
Well, they
several
can.
times, hey, 3 doors down, someone has this.
Exactly.
That's number 3.
I brought that up before.
Yeah.
But we have a charge from the council that is different than we're used to seeing from some of the ordinary legal rules. And a lot of stuff can fall into 3, unfortunately.
Right, but number 5 can kill 90% of the requests that come
Right,
forward.
right.
Hardship's important.
You know, oh, you bought a boat, well, that's self-imposed.
Well, and some of these things, you know, the contractor moving the property, I mean, you made a great point. Like, I love the points you bring up sometimes, because you do this for a living, and you're like, hey, just attach 2 garages in the under, and it makes me go, damn, that makes sense, but that's not his plan right now, and him. And
Yeah, but that was just to illustrate that it would be ridiculous to say the 2
Yeah,
don't.
and that's where I think sometimes you make me think, oh, that makes total sense, but then I go, but that, I'm doing 2 + 2 = 4 now, for them, right? Like, and I don't necessarily know if that's what we're supposed to do, but on the same time, I love it, because it gets me to think differently.
Right.
But for him to say, hey, my contractor and I disagreed on this issue about this thing, and it's gonna cost me $9,000.
And to cite the building permit number or other things that were completely irrelevant to the case.
Right.
Took me a while to get on the same track with that guy. I was like,
Yeah.
And we're never gonna stop people from doing
97654.
that, but I do think that free homework
You thought it was
stuff,
over?
I think is cool. So I think we've got some good stuff.
So at the next meeting, I can give a brief overview of the items as they come up. Maybe that's a couple of minutes, just an overview of the area and the property and the circumstance.
Yeah, and if you finish with what the variance request is, you give the facts,
Okay.
and then the last thing you do is, what's the variance request?
Spell
And
it
this
out.
is it. Because- Yeah.
You get lost in all these other things.
It's
Yeah.
easy to get lost.
I read the variance request, you know, what it was, and I was waiting for it to come out, and I was like you, I was like, I have no clue what's going on, and then you said it, and I went, oh.
Well, and I'll be honest too, the civic thing here, when the page loads and you're like, oh, it went to page 4.
I
and then it's page 3.
know, and it
Maybe we better have it all printed out for us.
Well, that's not.
Oh, that gets really
Well,
cumbersome too.
It's up to you guys, but.
I don't know. I think
this will help.
this
a
will do,
lot.
like, here's the layout, here's the property, like that flow. Like, here's the property, this is the proposed plan, these are the variances. Boom.
Yeah.
Like some
That would be
3-point
great.
structure, I'm just
Yeah.
in that position of being unbiased. Property location, like proposed plan, here are the variances, like whatever that 3-step project, and like have it bullet pointed in your head, then you're just boop, boop, boop.
And it could be probably less than a minute, right?
Right.
Just one note though, and just in terms of this, and I don't know, we're not recording this conversation as part of the minutes of the
We are.
meeting, are we?
We're on
So-
TV.
Are we on TV? This is great.
We are.
So,
Yes.
but this is, because I mean, this is kind of like a technical discussion about it. But I mean, when you go to the agenda item and you've got the PDFs there, if you press and hold, then you can open it in a new tab. And so you could have all of your
Oh, cool.
your things as multiple tabs across the top here, so.
I didn't know that.
So
So
you
when you
don't have
scroll
to,
through
you
them, does it
don't,
load still, or does it automatically load all of them as a PDF?
yeah, it'll,
click on it.
yeah, you know, so you can move back and forth between the different pictures or
Okay.
pieces as you need to, just with the different tabs,
So-
and then just close them.
Click and hold, huh?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
But if you, I'm more like, if it's a 7-page document,
Well,
when you scroll and you go to page 2,
It
it
loads, it
loads.
pages.
It
And
finishes-
then sometimes
Oh,
it jumps
yeah,
back to
yeah,
page
yeah.
1.
Page
Yeah.
5 is like 15 gigabytes.
yeah,
Correct.
right, it's just not
Right,
fast,
that's-
right.
Anyway,
Okay, so to summarize, I'll do some staff presentations, some background information next meeting. And then I'll work on a draft for you guys to review about, that incorporates this more as a checkbox. and
Yeah.
We'll just chip away at it from there.
And for the record,
Thank you,
no
Paul.
disrespect to any of our petitioners and any of my comments this evening.
You did fine, you were a big help.
Are there any other takeaways that you want to talk about, or do you want to keep this discussion going at the next, well, I'll put this on as an item. at the
Yeah,
next.
let's just maybe.
Yeah,
kick it
let's
down.
have this
Roll it.
again.
Keep doing it a
We
little
still
bit.
have to do our board officers.
Elections will be next month.
I don't want to talk about it tonight, but can we put it on the agenda? I did bring that up, and I don't know if that's something this board is, I'll lose on this if that's where we're at, but that whole thing that came up with the Packer Stadium and not having its own, like, development plan, I know that you and I were maybe on different pages with that whole thing, of having council, we have a new mayor, some new council members, should there be, is that our place to make a recommendation to say, hey, this should be looked at as having its own development plan? I don't remember the phrase, again, you guys are better at this than me, but
Yeah.
most stadiums, because they're so outside of the normal things, they have their own code written for what
They're
they
the
do.
elephant in the room.
Correct. And when I brought it up last time, you had said, well, this is the path of least resistance or whatever. It's a $150 thing, and you were okay with it.
I can't remember what I said. I wipe my slate clean every time.
Well, it would take two willing parties to have that discussion, there'd be some mutual agreement between the Packers and the city to do that, and I don't know if that would tie in other issues that are financial. I don't know, I guess that that's just.
But do we refer that to like council to say, hey, take that up, or is that like an older
You know,
discussion?
here's the thing, think about it from a petitioner's perspective. Now, I recused myself from an item earlier tonight. I don't know exactly what the conclusion was, other than you approved it with maybe some conditions. But, you know, one of the things that you could have looked at there is, you know, hey, should this be a planned unit development and apply some of the stuff we're trying to do as an overlay zone, right? And that's always it's always a choice to pursue that sort of thing when you're looking at some of these. But you can also look at, from a developer's perspective, what are you trying to get done? How big of a lift is it for that piece? And if it's like, well, it's this little thing here, or not so little thing, whatever it might be, versus coming up with a whole, you know, separate little mini zoning ordinance specifically for this project, why don't we try this and see if that flies, as opposed to, you know, going for a much more lengthy, cumbersome, difficult, you know, potentially challenging process, when all you really need is a wider driveway, or, you know, the little thing. So I think that's you know, that's up to us. If we're hearing something that's like, this is, we don't get this, or this is too big, or this is too crazy, or this is, you know, I can't see the hardship you're asking for because there's so many interconnected issues,
The property.
and
in
not
Sitka-
act on it
Yeah.
and push it someplace else,
We
right?
probably had property in Sitka last year before, the large
The big
home.
mansion, yeah.
Yeah, that was, we took that as a PUD, they came to the board twice, the board's like, we don't want to.
Yeah, there's too much here, there's too many interconnected parts. You're trying to
Rewrite an ordinance.
You're trying to rewrite the zoning code for this
So we'll-
property with a sequence of variances, rather than putting it all in one basket and then running it through on its own merits. And that goes through a different body that's filled with people who
Yeah.
look at that sort of thing all the time, right?
That was rare, but it worked out.
Yeah. I see they're constructing now, so.
So those are the 2 points I'll take away, and we can
Okay.
keep the discussion going, I'll put it on for next time, and we'll just keep chipping away at it, and
Perfect.
tweaking it.
Sounds good.
Did we get anywhere with my Packer question? That's okay if we did. All right, is that, I'm alone on my island on that?
You're more familiar
I
with
wasn't at
that.
the meeting, so I don't know.
We've talked about, I don't know.
Basically, they need a PUD, and the Packers don't have one. It's literally considered its own commercial district right now. Like, it's like commercial
Well,
development.
They're under a public institutional zoning, so, but there's so many complexities going on there that I don't know if we can even capture all of that. I don't know.
I'm just curious as to.
That's something I guess you talked to an alderman about, you talked to the mayor about. I don't know if this body would be the appropriate body necessarily.
It's like is it like the state passing legislation that only affects first-class cities, so that it's only Milwaukee? You know? But they don't say Milwaukee?
Okay.
Yep. I think the answer to your question is, you were the only one.
I was just gonna. I've got Wilson over here, and we never have a great meeting.
Without saying it until now.
All right. I'll second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye, we're adjourned.
Thanks, guys.
No, we're no longer.